Hokage Unlimited enhancement every 60 days. Chapter 141 to 160. 141. Illusionist. Or to be more precise, as a phantom beast species, in addition to the three-stage transformation of the animal system, the special ability of the nine-tailed fox form is not transformation, but charm. Through the fox fragrance emitted, it affects the senses of others. The imitation fruit is to change its appearance, and because of the change in shape, it cannot use its original moves. Tailed fox fruit only affects the senses of others, and does not change itself, so there is no such restriction. Of course, because fox incense is used as a medium, there must be a certain range, and people outside this range can still see the real situation. Also, it doesn't work for targets that don't breathe, like robots. In terms of transformation, compared with imitation fruit, there are advantages and disadvantages. But the most important thing is that since it is a charm, it is not limited to changing its appearance, it can also be the environment. The flame turns into ice, and the sea turns into land. It affects people's concept of time, resulting in the effect of living like a year, and being like a world away. For this ability, Longcheng has a more intuitive name, that is, illusion. Oh, could it be providence? Longcheng couldn't help but smile, for who came from Naruto world and has experienced infinite month reading, I'm afraid no one is more suitable for this ability than him. Of course, as in Eudemon's species, the power of this fruit is beyond doubt. But in order to realize these capabilities, the fruit needs to be developed. Who had just taken the devil fruit, in addition to the most basic three transformations of the animal system, he could only create the illusion of his own appearance changing. At this time, the development of the fruit by the previous nine-tailed fox abilities may only stay at this stage. Therefore, in the Devil Fruit Pokédex, the record about this fruit, the special ability is just a transformation. Try it. After clarifying his thoughts, Longcheng couldn't help but be eager to try, and then began to try specifically. The first is the basic ability of the animal system. There are three transformations, namely human, human and beast. At this time, it is a humanoid, and you can clearly feel that various attributes such as strength, speed, and endurance have been greatly improved. The most fundamental role of the animal-type devil fruit is to enhance your physique. Longcheng estimated that his previous Dao strength value was 150, and now he should have exceeded 200. Human type. Next, is the second form. So-called human beast type means that the body retains the shape of a human, and the appearance becomes a beast. Longcheng's human beast shape, with a strange fox face on his face, covered with white fur, his limbs turned into sharp claws, and 9 tails behind him. Longcheng experienced it. Compared to the simple humanoid, the human beast-like physical attributes have been enhanced, and the Taoist value can reach 300. Moreover, because the humanoid body is still maintained, the human body and martial arts can also be used. Not only that, using the unique organs and body structure of the beast, even more applications and derived moves can be developed. Example, Zhengchen, in addition to both hands, maybe you can consider punching through the fox tail. 9 fox tails are equivalent to 9 more arms. It's a pity. Looking at the personal panel, and then seeing the item, the ocean current falls over the shoulder, Longcheng couldn't help sighing. Eating devil fruit is disgusting in the sea where it has gained power, and once it falls into the sea, it will lose its strength. In this way, this skill of manipulating ocean currents is equivalent to being scrapped. It's really a pity that I just mastered the ability and suddenly it became a seal. But this is the way of the world, from the best of both worlds, if you get one thing, you must lose the other. Even if you don't eat this dog fruit today, you may eat other things in the future. It is impossible for Longcheng to never eat devil fruit in order to save the ocean current. After all, it was a superpower that had always been envious before crossing. Forget it. Matter has come to this point, it is useless to think too much, and Longcheng simply thinks about it. Besides, as long as a layer of film is coated on the outside of the body, those who are capable can still go into the water. Of workaround, this skill may not see the light of day again. Beast type. Keep trying, then enter the third form. This is. The so-called beast type is completely transformed into a beast. What Longcheng didn't expect was that when he entered the beast shape, his size was several times larger. Not counting the tail, the body is almost 10 meters long and 5 or 6 meters high. This small cabin was instantly filled with his body. So crowded that Longcheng had to change back into human form again. Yes. Little thought, Longcheng understood. After all, it is a legendary mythical beast and monster, so how could it be the same size as an ordinary fox? In addition, the size of the beast shape is actually related to the ability person himself. As long as the body of the Dragon City is further enhanced, the body shape of the beast shape will also become larger. Sooner or later, it will turn into a legendary giant monster. This can be seen from Kaido. As expected of a phantom beast. Understanding this, after that, Longcheng was happy again. The beast type loses its human form and cannot use human body skills, which was thought to be the most tasteless form. Now it seems that this form has a lot of potential. Charming. After experimenting with the three-stage transformation of the basic animal system, the next step is the unique ability of the phantom beast species. Longcheng's mouth smiled, and the whole body exuded a colorless and odorless gas. Even if he saw the color and domineering, he could not detect it. Then, got out of the cabin. Where's the woman? How did she get on the Moby Dick? On the deck, Whitebeard and his sons were enjoying the sunshine and wine when they suddenly saw a strange woman with a bewitching appearance walking out of the cabin, twisting her waist and crotch. Everyone was stunned, and then there was a commotion. Some people are worried that it is the enemy, and they are even ready to fight. Ha ha, don't be nervous. At this time, Whitebeard suddenly laughed twice, comforted everyone, turned to look at the strange woman, nodded and said, as expected of demons, this transformation ability is really interesting. Phantom species. Transformation ability. Hearing this, everyone looked at each other in dismay, and they were confused again. Bang! And at this moment, as a cloud of smoke dissipated, the so-called strange woman, directly turned into a dragon city. This is. Seeing this miraculous scene, everyone was startled again, and then they couldn't help laughing. It turned out to be Dragon City. Is this your ability to get the fruit? It's so interesting. It was really fun. Longcheng smiled and expressed satisfaction with this result. Being able to deceive all the members of the Whitebeard Pirates is enough to prove the power of charm. However, it is precisely because of this that the development of this ability is extremely difficult. Since it affects the senses of others through fox fragrance, what kind of illusion is created, it is necessary to adjust the use of fox fragrance. Of this colorless and odorless gas is much more difficult than the ocean current. The Dragon City who just took the devil fruit, let alone directly creating an illusion, even transforming, can't change whoever he wants, and currently he can only become the image of the coquettish woman just now. Philo reminds you, 3 things to read. 142. Welcome to the new human paradise. Where is the young master? Morning, a Zhang's voice suddenly resounded throughout the Moby Dick. Can you find Longcheng again? It must be someone else's appearance again. Seeing Yi Zhang who was anxious and scurrying everywhere, everyone smiled and said. It has been more than half a month, and the ability of the Dragon City Devil Fruit has become better and better, and it can become anyone's appearance at will. In the past few days, when he was idle and bored, he often turned into other people and played some pranks, which could be regarded as miserable for everyone. Are you the young master? You must be a young master. It's you, please, young master, change back quickly. Also reacted, began to investigate the people on the boat one by one. How could it not be? But after checking everyone, still not finding Longcheng, Zhang was completely panicked. Damn, Where is the young master? That kid, it's impossible to stay in one place safely. At this time, Whitebeard suddenly smiled, looked into the distance and said, "He has left. Leave." Yi Zhang couldn't help but startled, then went straight to the cabin phone bug. Today, only the 4th Division went out and was responsible for purchasing supplies. If Longcheng leaves, it must be mixed on their ship. What? But when I contacted Sachi, I was told that just now, someone secretly drove a small boat. They counted the personnel, and no one was missing. Now it seems that it should be Dragon City. Is it left by Longcheng? After hanging up Zhang's phone, Sachi picked up a piece of paper that said, "For you, Ace, and Dad's life, never touch the devil fruit again. Especially the purple-gray, a bit like a pineapple, especially the ugly one." Sachi was at a loss for this suddenly appearing note. Now it seems that it should be left to him by Longcheng. But he still didn't understand, what was the relationship between his contact with the devil fruit and everyone's life. Sachi couldn't help smiling, put this note away, and didn't think about it any further. Young master actually left. Moby Dick sighed. Sachi's phone worm hung up, with a frown and a look of worry on his face. Great Route is full of dangers, how can you do it with only a small boat? Especially when Longcheng has become a capable person, once it falls into the water, it will be over. Because of his poor care, if something happens to Longcheng, how can he be worthy of it? Guangyu family, don't worry, that kid in Longcheng is very clever, and he will be fine. Hope it. Although he knew it was comforting, at this time, Zhang could only think so. At the same time, he sneaked away, thinking that he finally got rid of all the restrictions and was able to enjoy his life freely. His face was full of excitement, and he couldn't help shouting from the bow of the boat. "I'm finally free. Wow!" Before he finished speaking, a big wave hit the ground and knocked him and the boat over. I have to say that the sea area of the Great Route is so ruthless and so fickle. Gouda, Gouda, Dragon City sinking into the sea, as a devil fruit power user, go all out. After drinking a belly of sea water, he gradually lost consciousness. Bang bang, bang bang, bang, the heart was beating rapidly, and the moment Cheng lost consciousness, it suddenly stopped. Hello. Wake up. Dead. ... Confused, as if he heard someone calling him. Bang bang. At this time, his heart suddenly resumed beating. Longcheng took a deep breath, his eyes were wide open, and he sat up directly. Boom, 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 hoo, hoo, hoo. The beating of the heart started again, and Longcheng also gasped for breath. Before he fell into the sea, in order to maintain physical function and reduce consumption. The strengthened inexhaustible heart temporarily stopped beating and entered a state of dormant suspended animation. Not until this time that Longcheng was washed up on the beach, and it recovered again. I thought I was dead. After a while, the body gradually warmed up, and Longcheng couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. At the same time, he subconsciously looked around. ... I saw a man, sitting not far from him, looking at him with a ghostly face. Ah! Longcheng blinked his eyes and stretched out his hand with a smile. Thank you for saving me. You, welcome. Other party only recovered his senses, but he still looked at Longcheng with vigilance, and asked tentatively. Are you a human or a ghost? It's human. Phew, it scared me to death. The other party breathed a sigh of relief, and then shook hands with Longcheng. Hello, I'm Ben Sam. You can call me Dragon City. The body is not as cold as it was just now, and it is indeed a living person. Ben Sam seemed to be completely relieved after this, and then his face sank again. However, even ghosts are much better than those demons. Demon. Longcheng blinked, then looked around. Obviously, this is not a red soil continent. Although it is dormant and suspended for a few days, it will not be washed so far after soaking in the sea for a few days. This is an island with green grass and green trees, and the environment looks pretty good. But Bensum mentioned demons just now, and it seems that there is something terrifying on this island. Here. Dragon City. Listen to me. Wait. Longcheng asked. Bensum took the initiative to speak. His expression was very serious. I also strayed to this island by accident. I thought it was God's blessing and let me save my life. But I soon discovered that under the beautiful exterior of this island hides a terrifying devil. Ah, monster, Aquaman. You will soon know that they will never let you stop for a moment. In order to save you, I have stopped for 30 seconds, and they will come soon. Bensum waved his hand, his expression was a little desperate, and then said seriously. But remember, once you meet them, don't try to resist. Only one way, and that is to run. Run. Darling. Little kiss. Come and try on this new dress. Just when Longcheng was wondering, he suddenly heard a shout, and then, a group of women ran out of the island. Ah, they're here. Bensum's face changed greatly in an instant, he was so frightened that his hair exploded, and then he pulled his legs and ran, and he didn't forget to turn around and shout at Longcheng. Run. Why? Seeing Bensum running away like a rabbit, Longcheng was confused, and then looked at the women again. When the distance gradually got closer, Longcheng also saw the appearance of those women. The steely face, the stubborn stubble, the lush chest hair, the leg hair, whereas a woman, it is clearly a group of men dressed in women's clothes and painted with women's clothes. Oh, God, there is another small cute. Come and be happy together. Seeing the beautiful Longcheng, that group of perverted eyes turned green, and then they rushed over with a twist. Nima. The brain was short-circuited for a short time, and then he returned to the Dragon City of God, and finally understood what Bensum said. Then Tang jumped up, pulled his legs and ran. At the same time, I cursed in my heart. I couldn't rush him anywhere, but I rushed to the Karmabaka kingdom in the Shemale paradise. Please download the underlined version of the novel. 143. Skills are forced out. Kamabaka Kingdom, located in the peach-color island of the New World, is the paradise of human beings and the base camp of new human beings. It is known as the Second Daughter Island. For all who set foot on this island, the residents here have only one goal, and that is to turn him into a sister who loves each other. In order to achieve this goal, they will keep chasing, putting on beautiful clothes, put on gorgeous makeup. They believe that as the outside changes, the inside will also change over time. The ghost wants to be your sister. It's good that Longcheng wants to travel around, but it's definitely not in his plan list. And he doesn't want to be changed, and he wants to be a goddamn sister with someone. So, like Bensum, Longcheng also began to run away desperately. But I have to say that these she-males are all girlish on the inside, but they are real steel men on the outside. Not only is it extremely fast, but it is as tireless as it is about taking drugs. Bang bang, bang. Facing the pursuit of a large group of she-males, Longcheng had to do his best, breaking the limit again and again in the violent beating of his heart. Correspondingly, Longcheng's physique is also rapidly increasing. Physical enhancement is a good thing, but Longcheng doesn't want to practice now. The key is that he doesn't want to practice in this way. 1,000 faces. Even if Longcheng has inexhaustible support, in the face of this group of she-males, there is often no way to escape. Fortunately, he has the ability to charm, turning into other she-males at a critical moment, and fleeing in the chaos. As for the use of force to directly repel these monsters, Longcheng never thought about it. Able to survive in the new world at will, the strength of these she-males can be imagined, and if you do anything with them, you will basically end up being miserable. And once you do it, it means giving up your friendship. In this case, the other party is likely to take the same force, and directly turn you into a sister. Save me, Longcheng, save. Ah, don't. At this time, I have to say that compared to the Dragon City that will transform, Ben Sam, who has no ability, is much more pitiful. After being caught, almost instantly, he was engulfed by a large group of she-males. Then, His screams resounded throughout the island. "Brother, take care." Whenever this time, Longcheng would run away while feeling the same. Nonsense. While Bensum dragged this group of she-males, wouldn't he flee quickly and wait to be ravaged together? In this way, I kept fleeing on the island, and in a flash it was a month. In addition to the inexhaustible heart, the animal-type devil fruit also has a great increase in physical attributes. With the two-pronged approach, in this month, Longcheng's physique has greatly improved. Roughly estimated, the Tao force value should have reached 300. And in the human beast form, it is more than 400. In this way, the strength of Longcheng at this time has surpassed everyone in the original book except Lu Qi. Physical strength alone is enough to gallop in the first half of the Great Route, the sea called Paradise. As for the New World in the second half of the Great Route, Longcheng is only a newcomer at best. Woo! I was chased for another whole day today, and seeing the sun was about to set, Longcheng got rid of those she-males again and hid deep in the jungle, and finally he could breathe a sigh of relief for a while. While resting, I couldn't help thinking, it's not a problem, I have to escape. As a not very big island, it can't be self-sufficient at all, so there are boats on the island. Those ships were parked at the port, but no matter how you looked at the trap, it seemed that they were waiting for someone to jump in. So until now, Longcheng has not dared to approach those ships, let alone escape. But if you don't steal the boat, are you really stuck in the sky all day, playing running games with a group of she-males all day? Dragon City, you are here. Just as Longcheng was thinking about it, Bensum walked out. Take a break. Looking at Bensum with a tired face, Longcheng said something, and then heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the sun is about to set, and when it gets dark, they won't be entangled. Yeah, today is almost over again. Bensum nodded, walked to Longcheng and sat down, then suddenly asked. What do you mean by life? It's such a profound topic to come up with. Longcheng smiled, thought about it, and said. Of course it's for fun. Yes. Everything we do is actually for the pursuit of happiness. Bensum nodded in agreement, but then asked again. Then how can you be happy? Well, different people have different pursuits and different ways to get happiness. No. Bensum shook his head this time, and said with a serious face. There is actually a way to make everyone happy. Really? Longcheng smiled and said casually. Teach me that too. Hey, I'm here to save you. Whoops. As he spoke, Bensum ripped off his tough guy's style coat, revealing a pink women's tutu. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Longcheng's eyes widened instantly. What the hell is this? Pop. And at this moment, Bensum suddenly rushed up and hugged Longcheng. Then a strange smile appeared on his face, and he approached Longcheng and said. The only way to be happy, of course, is to become a ladyboy. We used to be brothers who fought side by side, now let's be happy sisters. Nima. Longcheng was speechless for a while, and in the midst of repeated destruction, this guy fell. Then, Longcheng struggled hard, trying to break free from this pervert. However, Bensum's strength is not weak. At this time, his arms are tightly clasped, and Longcheng can't break free for a while. Come on, sisters, I've got him. At this time, Ben Sam suddenly shouted at the surroundings. Hey dear. We are here. Immediately afterwards, I saw a large group of she-males walking out of the surrounding bushes, approaching Longcheng with their eyes full of light. Oops. Longcheng's face changed greatly in an instant. The bastard, Bensum, not only fell by himself, but also betrayed him, and now he is surrounded. You have to break free, or you are really finished. Those dead perverts have already taken out all kinds of women's clothes and cosmetics. Desperation, Longcheng's right hand reached out like lightning, and used the long-lost move against Ben Sam, the monkey steals the peach. Crack. Because he was too excited, the moment he grabbed it, he exerted too much force. Longcheng seemed to hear the sound of eggs being broken. The next moment, Bensam's eyes widened, and he collapsed to the ground in pain. Congratulations to the host, Monkey Stealing Peach developed a derivative move called Orchid. At the same time, the system prompt sounded. But the shemales have already rushed up, and Longcheng can't care about these, he will run away after breaking free from Bensam. But there are shemales all around, and they have been completely surrounded, and there is still room to escape. Damn! In desperation, Longcheng jumped up vigorously, and then stepped on the air with both feet. Whoosh! The next moment, I saw Longcheng's figure flashing, and at the same time stepping on the air, he fled directly from the air. Philo reminds you, 3 things to read. 144. Unlimited under the month. Dragon City, strengthened organs. Heart strengthened skills. Monkey Stealing Peach look. Bing D, Orchid. Wajang punching. Gatling. DDC flowing over the shoulder and waves can strengthen skills. Moon Step. Shave. Moon Step, stepping on the air with strong foot force, produces air stagnation, and can walk in the air like stepping on stairs. It is one of the very few flying skills. As one of the 6 types of Navy, originally only senior admirals of the Navy can. As a traverser, Longcheng knew the principle of the moon step. Under the situation of being chased by the monster and desperate, with his powerful physique and superb understanding, he instantly mastered this skill. As for shaving, it is also one of the 6 naval styles, and it is 0 in an instant. Within seconds, step on the ground dozens of times to generate an explosive reaction force, so as to achieve high-speed movement, just like disappearing in an instant. The moon step is an extended application skill of shaving. After mastering the moon step, Longcheng learned to shave by the way. It's been more than a month and I haven't run in vain. The increase in Dao strength and the mastery of 2 skills have made up for the dark experience in the Kamabaka kingdom. In the days to come, for the only remaining iron-blooded pure men on the island, the shemales are still chasing after them, and Ben Sam, who has completely fallen, has also become one of them. Even Ben Sam, who became an orchid warrior, is much more crazy than ordinary shemales. But after Longcheng mastered moon step and shaved, these shemales were completely impossible to catch him. Chase is still the same, but the thrills of the past are gone. Cooling time is over. After more than 10 days, the system prompt suddenly sounded. Strengthen moon step. Longcheng had already thought about it, and issued an order directly. The goal of infinite reinforcement. Skill moon step. As the host confirmed, yes. Enhanced completion. The system prompts sounded one after another, and Longcheng took a deep breath to check the specific situation. Moonstep is similar to the light work in martial arts novels. The content of enhancement is nothing more than speed, and speed is nothing but stride and frequency. The first is the stride. Each step can be as far as a kilometer. You must know that ordinary people perform a moon step, and a step is only 10 meters at most. As for the frequency, within 1 second, Longcheng can perform 10 moon steps. It sounds like nothing at first, but you must know that 1 step in Longcheng is 1,000 meters. That is to say, if you use your full moon step, you can move 10,000 meters within it. It is indeed a system. After reading it, Longcheng couldn't help but admire it. With this ability, if you encounter a strong enemy in the future, even if you can't beat it, at least there is no problem in escaping to save your life. Finally get out of here. At the same time, a smile appeared on the corner of Longcheng's mouth. At noon, as usual, the shemales on the island flew towards Longcheng again. Although Longcheng has learned to walk on the moon, they have no hope, but they are still enthusiastic every day, without any negative emotions such as discouragement and depression. Whoosh! Longcheng didn't run away immediately, but when the monsters were about to rush up, he jumped hard and jumped directly into the sky. Puffy! Immediately afterwards, the foot continued to step on it, but it didn't move. It looked like it was suspended in midair. Everyone, thank you for your care during this time. Longcheng looked at the crowd below with a smile on his face, and then waved his hand. But I'm leaving, and we're destined to meet again. Where are you going to Xiaolongcheng? Hearing this, the she-males rioted for a while, their faces were full of reluctance, and many people couldn't help crying. Whoosh! Longcheng won't stop because of women's tears, let alone a she-male, and then step on his feet hard, and his figure is swaying. 1,000 meters away. Swish swish. Then, the moon steps were performed one after another, and they disappeared into the sky in a blink of an eye. This is. Is he going to go to sea like this? The nearest island is also several hundred nautical miles away, and his direction is not right at all. Seeing Longcheng, who actually stepped on the moon step and went out to sea, everyone's face was full of worry. Don't worry. At this moment, looking at the direction of Longcheng's departure, Bensom smiled and said with confidence on his face. You must know that he is the godfather of the orphan testicle who created the orphan testicle warrior. Although the great route is long, he will definitely be able to fly over it. You said it very well, Ben. Didn't you say it? Don't call the slave family's previous name again. The slave family has been reborn, and the slave family's current name is Feng Kele. Is it a good Zhaofeng family? Don't be angry. How can the slave family be angry with my sister? Let's be happy together. The noon sun shines on the sea, and the water waves reflect the colorful colors. On the golden beach, a group of she-males are running freely and happily. Whoosh, 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 and at the same time, Longcheng continued to perform moon steps in one direction. The moon step consumes very little physical strength, and with the support of the inexhaustible heart, the dragon city can completely move continuously. For this skill, he called it, Unlimited Company Under the Moon. Soon, Longcheng encountered an island, but he did not stop, but continued to move forward. 2 days later, he reached the sky over the Red Soil continent, but he still did not stop. Red Soil continent directly from the sky and enter the first half of the Great Route of Paradise. Longcheng's goal is Roger Town in the East China Sea, and he also wants to see Roger's hometown and what environment gave birth to the people who created this era. No way. But unfortunately, there is no permanent pointer in Longcheng, not even a map. How can it be possible to find a small town 3 days after leaving the fairyland on this vast sea, even if you have inexhaustible support, but you can't eat it? Longcheng, who had been drinking without sleep, finally couldn't hold on any longer, and fell down on a small island. Then he fell asleep, he was so sleepy. And this time, he slept directly for 3 days and 3 nights, and when Longcheng woke up again, it was another bright morning. But it was not the wilderness before. At this time, he was lying on a wooden bed, and in his vision was a simple room. Great, you're finally awake. At this time, the door opened, and a woman walked in. Seeing the awakened Longcheng, she couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Quote. So beautiful. Red hair, like incense. The early morning sun shone on this woman, and Longcheng was momentarily. I couldn't help but be stunned. 145. Iron Wall Pirates. Everyone pay attention to their posture. First, stand firm, take root with your feet, use your waist to drive your shoulders, and use your whole body strength with every punch. Drink. It's like this. At noon, in the town square, Annie was explaining the demonstration to everyone. With a straight punch, the red braided clay fluttered in the sunlight, like a landscape. Quote. Longcheng sat on the edge, admiring the red scenery, under the warm sunshine, couldn't help being a little ecstatic. Moon steps out to sea and escapes from the fairyland. Longcheng originally wanted to go to Rog Town to see the place where the legend was born. But because there is no pointer, his direction is skewed, let alone Rog Town. This is not even the East China Sea, but the South China Sea. This small island is called Huatian Island, and there is only one town on the island, called Rose Town. And the woman who rescued Longcheng was not a rescue in a strict sense. After all, Longcheng was just too tired to fall asleep. Her name was Annie, a retired Navy. I want to join too. The sun was warm all over. Longcheng jumped up and went straight to Annie. "Captain Anne, let me join the Iron Wall pirates too." "You?" Annie, who was training everyone, couldn't help frowning, then shook her head and said firmly, "No." "Why?" Longcheng looked surprised and pointed to an uncle in his 60s who was in the team. "He can do it, why can't I be young and strong?" "Because you are not a resident of Rose Town, you have no reason to participate in this battle." Anne was determined, then turned to the crowd again, and immediately became serious again, shouting loudly, "Everyone hurry up and train. We only have less than 2 months." What an interesting girl. Looking at Annie with a serious face, Longcheng couldn't help but smile. Although Anne is only 26 years old this year, she has been a sailor for 8 years. Who had just returned to her hometown after being discharged from the army, immediately summoned almost all the men in the town, a total of more than 70 people, to form the so-called Iron Wall Pirates. This small island is called Huatian Island, because the island is full of beautiful flowers all year round, just like a flower field dotted on the surface of the South China Sea. Planting and cultivating flowers has also become the main source of income for the islanders. Although life is not rich, but very happy, after all, every day is accompanied by flowers. But now, there are no flowers on the island, and everything is deserted. When the Dragon City fell, it even mistakenly thought it was a deserted island. Accident happened 2 years ago when the island suffered a rare disaster and all the flowers withered. After the disaster, the residents prepared to replant flowers, but found that their preserved seeds were damaged in the disaster. To replant flowers, you have to buy seeds. However, it is not rich and the loss in the disaster, there is no extra money. When everyone was at a loss, a group of people landed on the island, saying that they were subordinates of the god of fortune, and their duty was to spread happiness, and they were willing to lend the residents to buy seeds. Residents were overjoyed and immediately borrowed 100,000 berries from the god of fortune, then bought flower seeds and replanted them all over the island. Under the careful cultivation of the residents, these seeds quickly sprout and grow, blooming beautiful flowers. After the flowers were sold, they also made a profit of 800,000 berry. At this time, the servants of the god of fortune came again. The residents were very grateful to them and returned the 100,000 berries they had previously borrowed, in addition to the hospitality. But at this time, the other party actually said that a total of 2 million needs to be paid back. The residents were dumbfounded for a moment, and it was only then that they realized that this was not a blessing god who spreads happiness at all, but a hateful loan shark. Although angry, the other party is very powerful. Big, there are many pirates and mercenaries under his command. Rose Town is simply unable to resist, and can only continue to repay the debt. 2 years have passed, and the residents have worked hard to save food and clothing, and the debt has not been repaid, but has become 100 million berg. If this goes on, they will not be able to repay the debt in their lifetime. And just a month ago, those people went to the island again and burned all the flowers on the island. He also said that if the money cannot be repaid next time, all the residents will be driven out of the island, and the island will be used to pay off the debt. Damn. At this moment, the recovered Annie returned to Rose Town. After seeing the accident on the island and listening to everyone's narration, she couldn't help but be full of anger. Immediately afterwards, she immediately sought help from the Navy. But unfortunately, the nearby naval branch, taking advantage of the loan shark, refused to send troops on the grounds that it was a legitimate debt. In this regard, Annie just smiled weakly. In fact, all these years in the Navy, she has already seen the decay of the world government. In this case, we will use our own strength to protect our homeland. Who no longer pinned her hopes on the Navy, did not give up, but gathered the residents of the town to form the Iron Wall Pirates. In Annie's opinion, the reason why this small island was targeted by loan sharks was because there was no backing. You must know that each small island on the Great Route has a divided territory and is sheltered by a powerful pirate group. At the same time as being sheltered, he has to pay tribute to the pirates, but at least his life is stable. Since the Navy is unreliable, it simply pulls up this flag and protects itself. As for why this name was given, it was because Annie had heard someone say in the Navy before that the Iron Wall pirates are the most powerful pirates. And she also hoped that they could be like an iron wall, guarding the pirates firmly. Home. I also want to be a pirate, why can't I join? Longcheng approached Annie again and said with a smile on his face. And you are my savior, of course I want to put myself under your command. Dragon City, you already know the real situation. Annie rolled her eyes and said seriously. You're just a passing traveler, there's no need to risk your life for us. Who said I was going to work hard? Longcheng smiled, with an understatement on his face. I just want to play a pirate game. You, forget it, I don't care about you. Annie froze for a while, then sighed, ignoring Longcheng. Less than 2 months before those people landed on the island again. She had no time to entangle with Longcheng. She had to cherish every minute and every second and train the residents of the town as much as possible. From her point of view, Longcheng was just a momentary. Hey, then I'll take it as your agreement. Longcheng smiled, then stood in the team and followed him to train. Phailu reminds you, 3 things to read. 146. Iron Wall Cross. Look at that kid. Ignore him, he's not from the town, how could he really help us? He just wants to get close to Annie, this shameless fellow. Town Square, under the careful guidance of Annie for more than 10 consecutive days, everyone has basically mastered some fighting moves and started further intensive training in order to achieve the effect of actual combat. On the other side, Longcheng was also cultivating, only to see his arms slowly open and then cross his chest. Such a movement, repeated constantly, from morning to night, has been practiced for more than 10 days. Longcheng's actions aroused dissatisfaction among the residents of the town. As a traveler passing by, he really has no obligation to help, but this kind of joking practice is simply a mockery of the residents of the town. Although he is very angry, Huatian Island is facing at the juncture of life and death. As time goes by, everyone has less and less time for cultivation. Everyone is very anxious, they are trying their best to cultivate, and they can't take care of Longcheng for a while. Longcheng's performance, Annie naturally also sees it. But he also warned Longcheng not to do such superfluous things, so as not to affect everyone. But every time, Longcheng said that he was also cultivating, and then he approached with a hippie smile. Longcheng is not a resident of the town, and Annie can't force him. And fortunately, Longcheng did not have any impact on everyone. Anne simply ignored it and devoted all her energy to guiding everyone. No, still not right. 2. The eyes of the town residents, Longcheng didn't seem to see it, and it was still a constant practice of repeated movements, frowning from time to time. This move is called cross hands, and is a defensive move. Longcheng looked at his personal page, the attack included Miwa Zhengchen, and the displacement included moon step, and shaved, but he lacked defensive moves. Longcheng originally thought that the iron block and paper painting of the 6 types of practice, but these 2 moves are equivalent to the low-profile version of armed color and knowledge color. Without knowing the specific principles and no guidance, just guessing by yourself, it is really impossible to practice. So after a few days, Longcheng gave up decisively and turned to cross hands. Cross hands are not a form of Taijiquan in this world, but a form of Taijiquan. When they went to college before crossing the road, their physical education teacher taught them Tai Chi for 2 months. After giving up the iron block and paper painting, Longcheng immediately remembered that Jinping had a defensive martial art called Meihuapi. In a domineering look of armed color, poses in a rectangular posture, and blocks in front of him. Before teaching Dragon City Murloc Karate, Jinbei just casually mentioned plum blossom skin, and did not elaborate. Moreover, Longcheng will not be armed and domineering. Why he thought of combining the cross hands of Taijiquan with the plum blossom skin of Murloc karate to create his own defensive move. But it has to be said that it is extremely difficult to create your own moves. But fortunately, after more than 10 days of study, Longcheng finally found some eyebrows. At least it can be determined that his idea is feasible. In this case, Longcheng no longer thinks about other things, and then concentrates on cultivation. Time flies, and in a flash, it's more than a month. Look at my straight punch, it hits straight. What are you? I can break a wine jar with one kick. You are all young and tender. Old Barry, stop bragging, you are over 60, just don't hold back. Humph, don't look at my age, the 18-way stick method I created by myself is very powerful. If those hateful guys dare to come again, I will definitely smash their heads. Yes, if they dare to come again, they must look good. Let them taste the power of my fist. It has been less than 10 days since the loan shark announced that he would land on the island next time. After more than a month of training, the strength of the town residents has been greatly improved, and their confidence has skyrocketed for a while. Not only is there no fear in the past, but now they are gearing up one by one, just waiting for the loan sharks to come to the door, to teach them a lesson, and to show the evil spirits of the past 2 years. It should be barely enough. And looking at the fighting spirit of the town residents, Annie also showed a long-lost smile. The gardeners who usually take care of flowers and plants are really poor. But under great pressure, a lot of potential has also been stimulated. After practicing for more than a month, I have indeed made great progress. We're just some loan sharks, and Annie believed that as long as everyone showed a desperate attitude, they could be driven away. Look over there, it's still practicing. It's really hard work. At the same time, the residents looked at the dragon city not far away, and they were ridiculed again. A movement with arms crossed. I have been practicing for more than a month. The most annoying thing is that every day I come earlier than anyone else and leave later than anyone else. Obviously putting on a pose, but he looks like he is working harder than anyone else. Everyone go on. We can't slack off. At this time, Annie greeted me. After the break, everyone cheered up and began to continue to practice, ignoring Longcheng. At this moment, Longcheng, who had been repeating it all the time, suddenly stopped, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. After more than a month of training, he finally fused cross hands and plum blossom skin to develop his own defensive moves. At this time, the personal panel, which can strengthen the skills column, has an additional name, Iron Wall Cross. Iron Wall Cross. Concentrate on your arms and cross your body to defend against attacks. Since it can be recognized as a skill by the system, it means it's not bad. Oh, what a hard time this time. Finally practicing, Longcheng stretched his waist, then sat down on the edge of the square and basked in the sun comfortably. Look, stop. Aren't you willing to even pretend? I knew it. Ignore him, let's keep practicing. Seeing this scene, the town residents were discussing again, and their tone was rather disdainful. Annie took a look over there, and was suddenly inexplicably disappointed. But she didn't think too much, and continued to guide the residents of the town to practice. Next, time passed, and under the leadership of Annie, the residents of the town practiced in full swing every day. And Longcheng, still come every day, and then find a place to bask in the sun lazily and enjoy the red scenery. Cool down is over. There are 2 days before the loan sharks land on the island, and the system prompt sounds. Enhanced Iron Wall Cross. This infinite enhancement, target, skill Iron Wall Cross. As the host confirmed, yes. Enhanced completion. Please download Feifei to read the underlined version of the novel. 147. The Terrifying Giant. Early morning, all members of the Iron Wall Pirates, a total of 73 people, under the leadership of Captain Annie, armed with hoes, rolling pins, kitchen knives and other equipment, were waiting at the town entrance. That damn bastard, I have to knock out his big golden teeth. Yes. Let him taste the power of my fist. Let them never dare to step into Hokage Island. We have to get back all the money we squeezed before. Yes, let them know that we are no longer the gardeners who were bullied before. I saw everyone gearing up and eager to try. Not only did they not have the slightest fear on their faces, but they even wished the bastards who lend us money will appear soon. After all, everyone has been cultivating for a full 2 months, and they believe that they have been reborn. Why didn't you come? Aren't you afraid? Definitely scared. I've been cultivating so hard for the past 2 months. If they don't come, I'm not wasting my efforts. Who said no? For more than an hour, the sun had already risen so high, and the gang of loan sharks were still not seen. Residents of the town couldn't help being a little impatient, each with a pity on their faces. Aren't you coming? Annie's expression was serious. As a retired Navy, she knew that fighting was definitely not an easy thing. At this time, I couldn't help thinking that if those people didn't come, this battle could be avoided. That would be great. In contrast, Longcheng was very calm. He found a comfortable wall, the warm sun shone on his body, and he was already drowsy. Come here. Seeing that it was almost 10:10 in the morning, an excited shout suddenly came from the crowd. Great, it's finally here. I saw a boat parked on the beach, followed by a few people. Only 5 people. Not the big gold teeth they. But what is surprising is that there are no big scenes with dozens or hundreds of people, and only 5 people came down from beginning to end. The distance is too far to see the appearance, but from the figure and clothes, it can be seen that it is not the previous group. Everyone was stunned. Could it be that the 5 people who passed by disembarked and walked straight to this side? This is. When they approached, the residents of the town instantly widened their eyes, each with a look of horror. 4 men and 1 woman, even taller than a house, more than 20 meters tall. Giants. There is no doubt that these 5 people are giants. This is Rose Town. How could 555 giants come? Just when everyone was wondering, they had already walked to the front, and the leader of them asked directly. This is the Rose Town of Hokage Island. Anne was the first to regain her senses, and then asked. Excuse me, what are you doing? It's good to be here. The giants smiled and then said lightly. We were hired by Feld to let all the people in this town leave the island. What did you say? Hearing this, Annie was stunned for a moment, and then her face changed greatly. They're accomplices of the loan sharks. At the same time, the others stared wide-eyed, stunned on the spot. Has long been known that in addition to their own thugs, that group of loan sharks often hire professional pirates and mercenaries. But everyone never imagined that the giants they hired were actually giants. After 2 months of hard training, everyone thought that they had been reborn, and even if they were real pirates, they would certainly be fine. However, the opponent was a giant, a humanoid monster with a height of more than 20 meters. Even that, the only female giant, the long-handled axe in his hand was like a door. Such a weapon, how to contend with? It's over. It's all over. We're eager to try just now, full of confidence, face these 5 tall giants, and instantly lost their fighting spirit and their hearts were ashes. You are people from this town. Get out of here now. Leave all before sunset, don't waste our time. At this time, the giant spoke again and had already begun to drive away. Although everyone was not reconciled, there was nothing they could do. In the end, they opened their mouths, but couldn't say a word, like eggplants beaten by frost, ready to go home and pack their things. This is our home, we can't leave. And at this moment, a sonorous and powerful voice suddenly sounded. Everyone was startled again, then turned their heads to see that it was Annie. Respected Mr. Giant. I saw Anne with a determined face, raised her head to look at the giant in front of her, and explained. Those odious loan sharks, through their shameless and illegal behavior, have left us in huge debts. We are the masters of this island, this is our home, and they have no right to let us go. So, please, Stop being verbose. But the giant didn't listen to Annie's explanation at all, waved his hand impatiently, and his face became displeased. We were hired by Feld to do things with money. As for the grievances between you, it has nothing to do with us. So stop talking nonsense with me and get out of here immediately. Annie. Don't say any more. Legend has it that giants are grumpy, and now they seem to be so. Facing the angry giant, everyone became more and more nervous and could not help persuading Annie. Since there's no way to make sense. Annie frowned, but did not step back. She met the giant's gaze again, and said in a deep voice. We are the Iron Wall Pirates. This small island is the territory of our Iron Wall Pirates, and no one is allowed to interfere. Pirates, haha. Giant was stunned, suddenly laughed, and then asked disdainfully. Since you are a pirate group, where is your captain? I am the captain. Okay, ma'am, what about your crew? They. Annie turned her head, but when she saw that the others had already stepped back several dozen meters, all of them were full of fear, and no one dared to face her gaze. Annie opened her mouth, but in the end said nothing. He didn't blame either, but turned his head, looked at the giant again, and said in a deep voice. I'm the captain. As long as I'm here, you won't want to invade here, and you won't want to destroy every grass and tree here. Troublesome woman, since you're going to play a pirate game, just like a captain, meet the giant's angry fist. Annie's words had completely caused trouble for the giant, and with a loud roar, he punched Annie directly. You must know that this giant is more than 20 meters tall, and his fist is as big as a water tank. Not to mention Annie's weak body, even if it is a Sea King, I am afraid that it will be killed by one punch. No trespassing here. Faced with such a fist, Annie's expression was resolute and she did not retreat at all. Let out an angry roar, and punched him directly. Philo reminds you, 3 things to read. 148. Such a small scene. Annie. Seeing this scene, all the town residents' faces changed greatly, and they couldn't help but let out an exclamation. But in the face of mighty giants, they can't do anything at all. Everyone couldn't help but close their eyes, not wanting to see Annie being smashed into a mess of meat. Even death. At this time, Annie knew better than anyone else that she would never be able to stop this punch. But she still did not hesitate to go up to it. 4. The most cherished treasure, if you can't protect it, at least defend it with your life. Bang! The next moment, an unusually heavy and muffled sound, like a big drum, beating on everyone's mind. Annie. Residents of the town were full of grief, gritted their teeth and opened their eyes. This is. But the next moment, everyone couldn't help stunned, and they were stunned on the spot. In fact, not only the ordinary residents, but also the giant, and Anne herself, were full of surprise. A figure standing in front of Annie, blocking the punch for Annie at the critical moment. And this figure is none other than Longcheng. How could it be him? For a time, it was difficult for the residents of the town to understand, how could someone like Longcheng, who haunts Annie every day, except lazy sunbathing, who is practicing like a fool, can block the giant's fist. This is. But then, everyone suddenly found out. At this time, Longcheng crossed his arms and blocked the giant's fist. It was the foolish action he usually practiced. How is this possible? Everyone was stunned, with a look of hell. How could such a simple and boring move block the giant's fist? Dragon City. At this time, Annie also came back to her senses and looked at Longcheng in surprise. When she rescued Longcheng, she thought she was an ordinary person who was shipwrecked. Only now did I know that Longcheng turned out to be a strong man. At the same time, she remembered that Longcheng was pestering her to join the Iron Wall Pirates. Annie suddenly realized that she wasn't joking with her, she was clearly trying to protect her. At that time, Annie had complained about Longcheng in her heart, and she couldn't help but feel ashamed when she thought of it. At the same time, there are more emotions. How can the captain come forward in such a small scene? Longcheng turned his head and said to Annie with a smile. The captain rests in the back, and this trivial matter will be handled by the next. But don't worry. Longcheng's eyes were calm, comforting Annie. I'll fix it soon. Annie thought for a while, then nodded and stepped back. With her strength, she can't pose a threat to giants at all. And her existence will drag Dragon City down. Hey, big man. At this time, Longcheng turned to the giant in front of him again and said with a smile. Didn't you ask, where is the crew? I am, fighter. Huh. The giant looked serious and frowned at Longcheng. Facing a little girl, he didn't use all his strength just now. But even so, it was a shame that his fist was easily caught by an ordinary human. You know, this is just the South China Sea, not the New World, not even the Great Route. It is indeed a system. Longcheng's face was flat, and he couldn't help but admire in his heart. Iron Wall Cross. After being strengthened by the system, it can resist any physical impact except slashing. It can be called an absolute defense within a certain range. The giant's fist was really heavy just now, but under the iron wall, it was useless. Boy, give me another punch. Seeing the smile on the corner of Longcheng's mouth, it seemed like something provocative. The giant instantly became angry, then roared loudly, and punched him again. And this time, he used 100% of his strength. 100,000 tiles. Straight fist. Facing the giant's full-strength blow, Longcheng still had a calm expression on his face. Instead of using the iron wall cross block, he snorted softly, and also greeted him with a punch. Bang! The next moment, two fists, big and small, collided, making a loud thunderous noise. Gotcha! Then, there was another crisp sound, and I saw the giant's arm, twisted and broken in an instant. Boom! Then, the punch that could break 100,000 tiles directly blasted the giant away. Boom! Flying out for about 200 or 300 meters, the giant fell heavily on the ground. Half of his body was cracked and covered with blood, and he couldn't move for a while. Hi! Seeing this scene, everyone could not help but take a deep breath. Catching a punch from a giant was already surprising enough. But I never imagined that Longcheng's punch could directly knock the giant into the air. Could it be that his power is greater than that of the giant? Whoosh! Just when everyone was surprised, Longcheng's figure swayed and suddenly disappeared from the spot. This is... Everyone's eyes widened instantly, and the next moment, the figure of Longcheng appeared again, and in front of another male giant. Not good. Seeing the sudden appearance of the Dragon City, the giant's expression changed dramatically. 100,000 tile fists. But unfortunately, it was too late. Longcheng's face sank, and then he punched him again. Bang! The next moment, with a muffled sound, the giant was also punched and flew out. Then he fell to the ground, motionless, not knowing whether to live or die. Another one. Longcheng's mouth smiled, except the leading giant. The remaining 444s all had weapons, and the weapon that just flew this one was a big knife. Iron Wall Cross. The defense against slashing is relatively weak, so the priority is to deal with this person. Damn! And at this moment, the other three giants also moved, and with a roar, the weapons in their hands attacked Longcheng from the front, the back, and the upper three angles. Huge hammer, mace, axe, depending on the posture, they will directly smash the Dragon City into meat patties. Dragon City. Seeing this scene, everyone in the town was full of horror, and could not help but let out an exclamation. Dang, dang, dang! But the next moment, what made everyone stunned again was that Longcheng was not smashed. This is... I saw Longcheng at this time. His body was covered with white fur, his limbs also turned into beast claws, a strange fox face, and there were 9 huge tails behind him. Cheng's arms, up, down, left, right, front, back, completely protected him. Iron Cross, hexahedron. Longcheng's mouth smiled, and then he shook his tail vigorously, deflecting the giant's weapon. Then use the moon step, jump directly into the sky, turn around, and face the 3 giants below at the same time. 100,000 tiles and fists and 9 chaos. With a light drink, the 9 tails behind Longcheng, like 9 strong arms, slammed to the ground like a hurricane. Bang bang bang. In the dull loud noise, countless dust was stirred up, and the situation could not be clearly seen for a while. Until Longcheng stopped, a gust of wind swept away the dust, and only the 3 giants were left, all bruised on the ground. Quote. 5 giants, all of them fell to the ground in a blink of an eye. Everyone in the town was stunned. 149. The King of Loan Sharks. New Giant Pirates. In the town square, hearing the identity of the giant, Longcheng couldn't help widening his eyes. Giant soldier pirates, completely composed of giant warriors of Elbath, once mega-sized the whole world 100 years ago. But one day, with the disappearance of the 2 captains, the pirate group was also defeated by the navy. So-called New Giant Soldier Pirates is a pirate group composed entirely of giant warriors, following the example of the past. With their huge body and powerful strength, the giants can fight against 100 people. If this pirate group reappears in the world, it will be enough to shake the entire Great Root. But unfortunately, there are only 5 of them in the New Giant Pirates. And in order to build a huge pirate ship suitable for giants, they are working as mercenaries everywhere to save money. It turned out to be them. Longcheng couldn't help but smile. So to speak, the first giant to be defeated by him was Helding. In the original book, one of the captains of the Straw Hat ship did not expect to meet him here. As Feld in the South China Sea. Immediately afterwards, Longcheng continued to ask. According to Helding, they were hired by Feld and came to seize Huatian Island. As far as Longcheng knows, Feld is known as the King of Usurious Loans. As one of the kings of the Dark World, he should be active in the New World most of the time, so why did he suddenly come to the South China Sea? We are only hired by Feld, but responsible for this area is only one of his subordinates. As a prisoner, Helding is very self-conscious, knowing everything he knows and saying everything. So. Longcheng nodded. That's right. Strange. But then, Longcheng was puzzled again. Although the person in charge here is not Feld, but Helding and the others are indeed hired by Feld. One of the kings of the dignified world of darkness, the king of loan sharks, why does he attach so much importance to a small island in the South China Sea, and he has to personally ask, we don't know about this either. Facing Longcheng's doubts, Helding shook his head, expressing that he did not know the inside story. After all, they are just mercenaries, they do things with money, they don't need to inquire so much, and it is impossible for Feld to tell them so much. Then finally, Longcheng nodded and suddenly revealed a strange smile. Tell me, in charge of this area, where is Feld's lair? This. Helding, who had always been answering questions, couldn't help but hesitate at this time. When Longcheng asked about this, it was obvious that he wanted to seek revenge. And with Longcheng's strength, Feld's stronghold would probably be completely over. Helding didn't care about the lives of those people, their reputation. Employer dies because of their betrayal, their future mercenary intentions will definitely be greatly affected. Well, I'll tell you something in exchange. Longcheng smiled, then leaned closer to his ear and whispered a few words. What you said is true. After listening to this, Helding's face changed greatly, and he looked at Longcheng in disbelief. If I want to force you to speak, I can use a more direct method. Longcheng glanced at the other 4 giants, then said with a smile. There's no need to bother making this up. Quote. You're right. Helding frowned and nodded. With the strength of Longcheng, he could completely risk his companion's life and threaten him to reveal the location of Feld's South Sea stronghold. There is really no need to fabricate any lies. This news is very important to us. Helding paused, then no longer hesitated, and informed Dragon City of the location. As the king of usury and one of the kings of the dark world, Feld's influence spreads across the Great Root and the world. In the South China Sea, there are dozens of strongholds, of which the nearest one is located on an island in the southeast, which is also a unit that lends money to Huatian Island. According to Hierding, there were nearly 100 thugs in that stronghold, but with average strength, it was impossible for them to be Dragon City's opponents. Person in charge is called Samuel, a fat man who is accustomed to conspiracy, but whose fighting power is not as good as that of ordinary people. I'll be back when I go. After getting the accurate information, Longcheng said something to Annie, and then set off immediately. Puffy, seeing the Dragon City that went out to sea directly with moon steps and disappeared in the blink of an eye, Hierding's 5 people looked at each other in dismay. 4. Longcheng's strength, I can't help but have a new understanding. Be careful. According to what Hierding said, Samuel's force was not enough to threaten Dragon City, but that it was the enemy's lair after all, and Annie couldn't help but worry for a while. Looking at the direction where Longcheng left, pray silently. About a few hundred nautical miles from Huatian Island, there is a relatively large island. Except for some small villages and towns on the island, the cities in the Central Plain area are the main ones. City, there is a bar called Wildfire. But it is this small bar that looks inconspicuous, even a little run down. In fact, it controls thousands of nautical miles, dozens of islands, large and small, and loan sharks with billions of liquidity. Bang! It's daytime, Wildfire bar not open for business. At this moment, the store door was suddenly pushed open, and a man walked in. Sorry, we're not open during the day, sir. Waiter was wiping the wine utensils and said something casually, but then, when he looked up and saw the person coming, his face changed greatly. The other party was a fat man with a scar on his forehead, who looked extremely vicious. It is one of the kings of the dark world, and the behind-the-scenes owner of the Wildfire bar, Feld, the king of loan sharks. I didn't expect you to suddenly come to our small place. Waiter stepped forward quickly, took Felder's coat, bowed his waist and bowed his face respectfully. I just happened to be passing by something. Feld looked around and said directly. Wait until I see Samuel. Yes. Waiter nodded and hurriedly led the way. Half an hour later, a private room deep in the corridor. With the sound of loan sharks, Samuel, who was calling for wind and rain in this area, looked at Feld who was flipping through the ledger, and wiped the cold sweat from his forehead with a pale face. Feld suddenly came here, and he was going to check the accounts as soon as he came. He couldn't help worrying, if his small actions in private were found to be cruel to Feld, and once he was found to have hacked the money, he would be dead. This flower field island. Just when Samuel was uneasy, Feld suddenly spoke. The bills are waived, and don't bother you again in the future. Wada Island. Hearing this, Samuel couldn't help but startled, then looked back at Feld, his face suddenly sank. Who are you? How dare you pretend to be Lord Feld? Philo reminds you, 3 things to read. 150, then come find me in the new world. It was discovered. Feld smiled at the corner of his mouth, and then with a snort, he turned into a young man. It was Dragon City. According to what Hierding said, with the strength of Dragon City, this stronghold can be easily destroyed. But even if Dragon City destroys this place and kills Samuel, Feld can send someone else to take over, and he will continue to harass Huatian Island. So Longcheng thought of a once-and-for-all method, that is, to become Feld directly, to forgive Huatian Island's debt. But what I didn't expect was that Samuel saw through it. How did you find out? Longcheng looked at Samuel and looked up and down with interest. The charm ability of the 9-tailed fox, although Longcheng can't create an illusion, but it can change its appearance at will, and there is absolutely no flaw. This Samuel could see through it so much, it really made him very curious. Before that, let's talk about who you are. Samuel looked at Longcheng coldly, with a sneer on the corner of his mouth. Tatata. Then, the door of the private room was pushed open, and a large number of thugs poured in. We're 70 or 80 people, and Nuoda's private room seemed a little crowded in an instant. Up. Samuel obviously didn't want to talk nonsense with Longcheng, and with a wave of his hand. A light drink. Immediately afterwards, 70 or 80 thugs rushed towards Longcheng together. Isn't it good to sit down and talk, but you have to do it. Longcheng sighed helplessly, then got up, his face suddenly sank. 10,000 watts fist gatling. ... After 2 minutes. The originally splendid private room has now become a mess. And the 70 or 80 ferocious thugs were all lying on the ground, groaning in pain from time to time. Longcheng sat down again, looked at Samuel who was the only one still standing there, and said with a smile. Can we have a good talk now? Gouda. Samuel swallowed dryly and nodded quickly. If there is anything you want to ask, the little one must not dare to hide it. Very good. Longcheng smiled and asked directly. How do you see that I'm not Feld? Is there any flaw in my transformation? No. Your transformation, my lord, is perfect. I'm afraid Feld's mistress can't tell the difference. Samuel looked flattering, then rubbed his hands together and said. But you shouldn't say to forgive the debts of Huatian Island. Well, what's the problem with that? Because just 2 days ago, it was you. Oh no, it was Feld who called me personally and said that Huatian Island had already passed on to someone else, and I didn't need to take care of it anymore. It turned out to be like this. Longcheng nodded, and it turned out that this sentence was revealed. But speaking, just based on these words, Samuel dared to think that he was a fake, and indeed, as Helding said, he was a cunning fellow. Then Helding and the others went to chase people today, but Feld fulfilled his obligations before the handover of Huatian Island. Immediately afterwards, Longcheng frowned slightly again. Now that Huatian Island has changed hands, there is no point in making trouble with Feld. Who did you give it to? Thinking of this, Longcheng then asked a question. Doflamingo Tenyasha. Samuel said a name, his face suddenly changed, nervous. The great pirate who traverses the New World, one of the 7 warrior seas under the king, and the current king of Dressrosa. It was him. Longcheng paused and couldn't help thinking. As one of the villains in the original novel, Doflamingo cannot be underestimated in terms of strength or power. If he were to take over Huatian Island, it would indeed be much more troublesome. Moreover, why Doflamingo, who is located in the New World, is interested in Longcheng, a remote island far away in the South China Sea, guessing, it is likely to build an arsenal to produce various weapons that are contrary to humanity. After all, Doflamingo is an arms dealer himself, and it's not the first time he's done such a thing. If this is the case, Doflamingo will not let Huatian Island easily. Do you have Doflamingo's phone? After thinking for a while, Longcheng suddenly asked. ... There is. Samuel was stunned, and looked at Longcheng with some suspicion. Could it be that he wanted to call Tianyasha, but he didn't dare to say more, and quickly brought the phone bug. After all, Huatian Island is in his sphere of influence. In order to facilitate the Don Quixote family to receive, they have a direct connection. Looking at this little phone bug wearing red sunglasses, Longcheng smiled and dialed directly. Samuel, are things done? My people are already on their way, and they'll be there soon. After the connection, there was a somewhat sinister voice on the opposite side. It was Doflamingo himself. I'm not Samuel, I'm Guangyu Longcheng. Longcheng didn't detour, and said directly and seriously. On behalf of the Iron Wall Pirates, I announce that from today, Huatian Island is officially designated as our territory. No one, including you, Doflamingo, is allowed to attack Huatian Island again. ... Light Moon Dragon City. Information in this sentence is really too large. Even Doflamingo didn't react for a while, and after a while, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. The first and only time I heard the name Guangyu Longcheng was when he hit the Tianlongmen and claimed to ban the sale of murlocs and mermen. At that time, Doflamingo didn't take him seriously, thinking he was just an arrogant and ignorant kid. But I didn't expect that when I heard this name for the second time, it turned out that I called him directly and occupied the island that he liked. How could Tianyasha, who killed his father and younger brother, take my words as one? What's the matter? At this moment, Longcheng's voice rang out again. What did you say? Doflamingo's face sank instantly, and his expression became extremely cold. I know your origin and identity. Longcheng continued to speak in a calm tone. And I know more, such as how you won the throne of Dressrosa, and the truth behind the land of toys. Even, I know some of your deal with Kaido, more than if. Shut up. After Longcheng finished speaking, Doflamingo's gloomy voice came. What do you want? I've made it very clear. Move your paws away from Huatian Island. Are you threatening me? So to speak, if you don't say yes, these secrets will quickly become big news around the world. Quote. You said just now, you're Iron Wall pirates. A long pause, Doflamingo opened his mouth again, and while he let out a giggling laughter, he became more and more. Said coldly. If that's the case, then come to the New World to find me. Within a year, if you can stand in front of me, I'll spare that boring island. Good. Longcheng responded without hesitation, then hung up the phone. 151. Jinbei arrested. Damn guy. Dressrosa Palace. Doflamingo hung up the phone with a gloomy expression on his face. After a while, a sneer suddenly appeared on the corner of his mouth, and he ordered. Go get Pika. How exactly Longcheng knew his secret, Doflamingo didn't know and was not interested. What he is thinking now is how to get rid of this scourge. Longcheng used these secrets as a threat to let him let go of Huatian Island, which Doflamingo did not trust. In his opinion, only the dead can keep secrets. He has already planned to kill Longcheng. As for that, a 1-year agreement, it is only to temporarily stabilize Longcheng. Dover. After a while, a tall man with a very thin voice walked in. It is one of the top cadres of the Don Quixote family, the leader of the Secret Service, Pika, the stone fruit ability. Take your people to the South China Sea and kill someone. Doflamingo's face was gloomy, and then he told Pika the information about Dragon City and the location of Huatian Island. That Longcheng knew were too important to Doflamingo, and he had to be guaranteed to kill him, so Pika was sent directly. Good Dover. After listening, Pika nodded and turned to leave. Wait. At this time, Doflamingo suddenly stopped him again and said. If the kid has left Huatian Island, don't destroy the island, and don't kill the people on it. I know Dover. Nodded again, and after Doflamingo had no other explanation, she turned around and went out. Yang. Seeing Pika leaving, Doflamingo couldn't help but let out a strange laugh. This is New World Dressrosa, which is too far away from Huatian Island in the South China Sea. When Pika and the others arrive, Longcheng may have already left. If Pika destroys the island, or kills the inhabitants above, Longcheng is likely to tell those secrets. Therefore, before killing Dragon City, Doflamingo can't take a shot there. However, even if they can't find Longcheng this time, it doesn't matter. After all, they agreed that within a year, Longcheng will also take the initiative to appear in front of him. The sun is so beautiful today. Just as Pika, leading Buffalo, left Dressrosa, and headed for the South China Sea. Longcheng is lying on the reef at the seaside of Huatian Island, basking in the sun leisurely. In the wilderness not far away, the residents of the town are busy planting flowers. That was squeezed from Samuel, and the residents used part of the money to buy flower seeds. While basking in the sun, looking at everyone with smiles on their faces who are working hard, Longcheng felt relieved. This kind of day is really comfortable. And among the working crowd, a touch of red looked here from time to time, revealing a trace of love in his eyes. Today's paper is here. The delivery gull fell, and after paying 50 berries, took a shade just right. Longcheng lay there, directly covering his face with the newspaper as a blindfold. But the next moment, Longcheng sat up abruptly, picked up the newspaper and read it carefully, and then frowned. Somewhere in the New World, the Sun Pirates were defeated by the Navy. Jinping, one of the former king's descendants, was arrested and imprisoned. The big headline, as a big news, occupied an entire page. This guy. After reading the entire report carefully, Longcheng's face became more and more serious. When we parted on the Moby Dick before, Jinbei said that he was going to go back to house the Sun Pirates, but there was no news after that. Longcheng also sneaked away not long after that, so he didn't care. But I didn't expect that, in less than half a year, Jinping was actually arrested by the Navy. The report did not write a specific verdict, but only said that he was locked up. But for pirates who yearn for freedom, losing freedom is often more uncomfortable than killing them. I originally wanted to wait and see the flowers blooming on Tiandao again, but now it seems that I can't. Longcheng sighed helplessly, then stood up and shouted at Annie, who was still working. "Annie, I'm leaving." "What?" Annie raised her head and looked towards Longcheng, her face full of sweetness. But because of the distance, she didn't hear what Longcheng said. Puffy, fluffy. The next moment, Longcheng performed the moon step and went straight to the sea. Quote. That disappeared between the sea and the sky in the blink of an eye. Annie couldn't help being stunned. It wasn't until a long while ago that the corner of his mouth forced a smile, thinking to himself, Longcheng will come back before the sun sets, it should be right. NT spent much time with Jinbei, but I can't deny, he's a nice guy. What's more, Jinbei is still his retainer. Therefore, Longcheng must go and save him. Leave Longcheng on Huatian Island, and then go straight to the Great Route. The report did not say where Jinping was imprisoned, but it is not difficult to guess that it should be the Pushing City, known as the Great Underwater Prison. Longcheng has no pointers, and the exact location of Pushing City is unknown. It is only known that it is located in the first half of the Great Route, on the seabed in the windless zone, not far from the Judiciary Island and Marine Bando. Longcheng's heart: first get closer, then find a naval branch, get a permanent pointer, and then go specifically. There is a boat. In a blink of an eye, more than a day, the distance should not be far. Didn't find the naval branch along the way. Just as Longcheng frowned, he suddenly saw a warship sailing below. As long as it's from the Navy, that's fine. 1,000 faces. Longcheng fell directly to the deck, and at the same time, he used his abilities to directly become the Supreme Commander of the Navy, the appearance of the Warring States period. Who? Marshal. The Navy on the warship suddenly saw someone falling in the air and immediately alerted. But then, when he saw that the person who came was Marshal Warring States, his face was full of shock. Clap, quickly stood at attention and gave a military salute. Whose ship is this? Longcheng glanced at it and strode towards the cab. It's my ship. At this moment, a woman came out of the cabin, threw the cigarette in her mouth to the ground, and gave a military salute to Longcheng. I've seen the Marshal. It turned out to be Colonel Tina. Glancing at the other party, the delicate facial features, and the pale pink long hair with the middle part, is the fruit of the threshold, Tina, who is known as the Black Threshold. I didn't expect to find a boat at random, and it turned out to be this Navy Beauty's site. I have something important. Longcheng's face then froze, and he ordered directly. No matter what mission you have, immediately change your route and go to the advanced city. Yes. Tina also looked stunned, and then ordered to divert to advance the city. Filu reminds you. 3 things to read. 152. The Marshal sent the deputy warden away. Somewhere in the windless zone in the first half of the Great Route, a huge portal stands on the sea, with the emblem of the Navy painted on it, which is the gate of the advancing city. After being contacted by the phone bug, the portal slowly opened, and the Black Sil warship entered directly through the sea current dedicated to the Navy. This is the advanced city. Standing on the deck, Longcheng couldn't help but feel shaken when he saw this magnificent scene. After a while, the warship docked, and Longcheng officially set foot on the site of the advanced city. Welcome, Marshal. Hearing that the Marshal was coming, the person in charge of the advanced city was already waiting here. Leading the charge were a man and a woman, the Deputy Warden Hannibal and the Deputy Warden Domino. At this time, Shiryu, the guard of the Long Reign, should have been imprisoned on the 6th floor of the prison for murdering prisoners, so he can only perform his duties by a deputy, that is, the elegant beauty Domino. But the strange thing is that the Warden Magellan did not come, but Hannibal. Your Excellency Marshal. At this time, Hannibal opened his mouth and explained. Our Warden, Magellan, originally wanted to meet you in person, but because of the side effects of his devil fruit, he is now having diarrhea, so I can only come on my behalf. It's okay. Longcheng waved his hand, but his heart was right. The big underwater prison is known as the Iron Wall, in addition to strict precautions. The main reason is because of the two trump cards, the Chief Guard Shiryu and the Chief Prison Magellan. At this time, the two of them are not there, which is better for Longcheng. Your Excellency Marshal, although Magellan was suffering from diarrhea, it was not enough for him to not be able to greet you in person. Respect. So you see, why didn't you just promote me to be the warden? Hannibal's face was flattering, and just after he finished speaking, he suddenly realized it. Oops, I'm speaking from my heart. You'll be seated as the warden soon. Longcheng smiled, then walked in and said. I'm here this time for an important reason to see Jinping. Could it be that, Marshal, you promised? Yes. Hannibal, who was happy, did not dare to neglect when he heard the business, and hurried forward to lead the way. Entering the city, one must first conduct a body search and wear Shanghai stone handcuffs. But that, just for ordinary people, of course not for the Admiral. Under the guidance of Hannibal, the group took the elevator to the 6th underground floor. In addition to the sea floor where the guards live, the underwater prison has 6 floors under the sea. According to how much the prisoner's bounty is, the number of layers to be detained is determined, but most people only know the first 5 layers. The 6th floor is dedicated to detaining monster pirates who were wiped out of history because they were too ferocious. All of them are almost legendary characters. And the prisoners here are either executed or life imprisonment. After being arrested, Jinpei was locked up on the 6th floor. This is Advance the City Monitoring Room, and you can observe the quietness of the prison through the monitoring electricity distributed throughout the prison. When he saw that Hannibal and other officers were surrounded by a boy in the elevator, the guards in the monitoring room couldn't help but be confused. As the vigilance of the jailers, they immediately intercepted the video and compared it with the bounty pirates. Come out. He is Guanyu Longcheng, who killed the super murderer of Tianlong people in the Chambord Islands. It was soon concluded that there was an instant uproar in the monitoring room. Criminals entered the advanced city in a grand manner. The most suspicious thing is that the deputy warden and the deputy warden were right next to them. Things were so weird that the monitoring room quickly dialed the phone bug. Phone. Who was constantly flattering Longcheng, suddenly heard that there was a phone call from the monitoring room, and he couldn't help but look unhappy. Didn't you see that I was busy cursing the marshal, but I was counting on him to promote me to be the warden? Oops, I'm speaking from my heart again. Hannibal looked astonished, then returned to his senses and answered the phone bug. Cared more about his duties as deputy warden than his often exposed ambitions. I'm Warden Hannibal. Well, Deputy Warden. What's the matter with me? Quote. Why did a phone call suddenly come? Longcheng then looked at the surveillance phone bug above his head, frowned instantly, and secretly said, not good. What did you say? At this time, Hannibal had already looked towards Longcheng with a hint of confusion on his face. And at this moment, Longcheng suddenly turned to Hannibal and punched him. 100,000 tile fists. Bang! At this time, the elevator had just reached the basement level, and Hannibal, who had not had time to react, smashed the elevator directly and was knocked out by Longcheng. Quote. This is. Marshal suddenly smashed the deputy warden. Seeing this scene, everyone else was dumbfounded. The heart said that even if Hannibal's ambitions were exposed one after another, he wouldn't be so ruthless. Just when everyone was stunned, Longcheng had already flashed out of the elevator and quickly fled into the distance. Seeing this, everyone became more and more puzzled. The marshal beat the deputy warden and absconded in fear of the crime. Quick, catch him. And at this moment, Hannibal, who fell to the base of the wall and was seriously injured, pointed to the direction of Longcheng's escape, and shouted with the last of his strength. He's not a marshal. He's a fake. What? Hearing this, the others were in an uproar. But as a guard, he quickly regained his senses, and then started chasing Longcheng. But looking at it again at this time, there is no trace of Longcheng, negligence. At this time, advancing somewhere on the basement floor of the city, Longcheng, who had turned into an ordinary guard, frowned secretly as he walked. His ability is different from imitating the fruit, not really transforming, but through the fox fragrance, people have hallucinations. But in this way, people who are not within the scope of Hushang will not be affected. He forgot that there were surveillance cameras everywhere in the advanced city, and in the eyes of the people in the surveillance room, he was still the same as he was. Entrance. Where is it? Secret path. It was a misstep, but fortunately, I have successfully sneaked into the advanced city, and now I have to find the entrance to the second underground floor. Through the elevator, you can directly reach the 6th floor, but the elevator is too narrow, and it is easy to be ambushed by the enemy at the exit. Therefore, in contrast, it is still safer to find the entrance by yourself, and it is safer to go down layer by layer. Bang bang bang. Just as Longcheng was looking for it, he suddenly heard a loud roar. Looking up, I saw a group of huge monsters with skull patterns and giant axes running towards him. Come fast enough. This is the guard on the basement floor, the jailer beast blue orangutan. I don't know if it's a human or a monster, but in short, it has a strong fighting power, known as a sea fighter, and has the strength to hunt sea kings. Longcheng didn't want to entangle with them, so he had to avoid them. But as soon as he turned around, he saw another group of blue orangutans, which had already surrounded him. There is no way. Longcheng sighed helplessly. Since this is the case, then he can only fight, and then he shakes his body and directly greets him. 153. 4th floor, Advanced City. Catch him. Over there. Don't let him run away. Just after defeating a group of blue orangutans, a large number of soldiers appeared, chasing and blocking Longcheng. Longcheng couldn't help frowning secretly as he saw that there were surveillance phone bugs everywhere. He can indeed use his abilities to become anyone's appearance. But the people in the monitoring room were not affected. They locked Longcheng through monitoring and mobilized jailers to contain it. In this way, the transformation of Longcheng has no meaning. Fortunately, Longcheng's moon steps are extremely fast. Although there are many prison guards and blue orangutans, they can't catch up with him at all. Sword tree, needle grass. After running for a while without any flies, suddenly I found a jungle. The leaves are as sharp as a blade, and the grass is as sharp as a needle. The basement floor is also called Red Lotus Hell, and it is precisely because of the existence of these sharp plants and trees. The prisoners ran back and forth under the chase of the jailers and the blue orangutans, and there was blood everywhere. Great. And Longcheng remembered that the vent leading to the second underground floor was between the needles. Dragon City is flying on the moon, and there is no need to worry about the needle grass on the ground, but it can stop the jailer and the blue orangutan. Found it. After a while, I saw a huge black lacquer hole on the ground, and I couldn't help showing joy, and then jumped directly. He fled to the second underground floor. Immediately investigate the surveillance on the second floor of the basement and find him. This stupid guy is courting his own death. In the monitoring room immediately looked at the monitoring on the second floor, and at the same time sneered. The undersea prison, the more dangerous it is. The second underground floor, also known as the Beast Hell, is scattered with chicken snakes, human-faced snakes, poisonous scorpions and other beasts. And their daily food is prisoners. Longcheng actually panicked and entered the second underground floor. In their opinion, it was no different from sending him to death. Found it. This is. Through monitoring all over the place, the location of Longcheng was quickly locked again. At this time, under the surveillance, the Dragon City, which had just arrived on the second underground floor, was already surrounded by many beasts. But before the guards could be proud, after seeing it clearly, they couldn't help but froze in front of the screen. I saw those fierce beasts that eat people but don't spit out bones. Not only did they not attack Longcheng, but they either tucked their tails in fear, or wagged their tails to please. Looking at it like that, it's like a little brother. And Longcheng, the prisoner, just swaggered around on the second basement floor. What the hell is going on? Monitoring room looked at each other, dumbfounded for a while. Sure enough. At this time, he was looking for Longcheng, which was going to the entrance of the third underground floor, with a light smile on his lips. Compared to humans, although these beasts are ferocious, their IQs are also low. Not being able to understand instructions is more of a fear that has been cultivated for a long time. Longcheng turned into a monster with a human face and a sphinx body. It is the boss of these beasts, the Sphinx. Facing the boss, how dare these beasts attack? I found it. In this way, Longcheng walked through the second underground floor unharmed, found the entrance after a while, and went to the third underground floor smoothly. He's down again. Quickly lock his position. The guard in the monitoring room only recovered his senses, and then there was another panic. The third underground floor, also known as the Hunger Hell, has hot air constantly rising from below, making it extremely sultry. The most important thing is that there is no food here, so the prisoners are all half dead. Since there is no food, there will be no jailers, beasts and the like. Just like an abandoned place, after looking for a while, Longcheng found the entrance again, and went directly to the fourth underground floor. He actually reached the fourth underground floor. This time he's really dead. Continue to lock the monitoring room of Longcheng. Seeing this, the corner of the mouth shows a sneer again. The fourth underground floor, also known as the Scorching Hell, is like a big iron pot, full of boiling blood pools and flames. The heat of the third floor comes from here. Most importantly, this is where Warden Magellan's office is located, as the fourth floor. At the same time, compared to before, Longcheng can't help but be more cautious. As a transmigrator, of course he knows how powerful this layer is. Must be ASAP. While vigilant around, seize the time to find the entrance to the fifth floor. As long as you find the entrance, you can leave here as soon as possible. And the fifth floor is an extremely cold hell, because the temperature is too low, the phone bug cannot survive. Other words, there is no monitoring on the fifth floor. Compared with the previous 3 floors, there is a huge blood pool in the middle of the fourth floor, so the real active area is only the outer circle. In this way, as long as you walk around, you will definitely find the entrance. Found. With the help of the moon step, I quickly walked halfway through the fourth floor and found the entrance to the fifth floor. But before Longcheng was happy, he frowned. I saw at the entrance, next to it, a woman in a red sexy leather jacket and 4 humanoid animals were standing. Longcheng recognized at a glance that it was the prisoner chief Xiao Suti who had a perverted interest, and the 4 prisoner beasts under her command. You really came. It seemed that he was waiting for the rabbit here. Little Suti smiled, then swung the whip at the jailer beast next to him, and reprimanded sharply. You 4 idiots, don't hurry up and catch him. Hoo-hoo. Hum. 4 jailer beasts were whipped, and immediately roared, waving their weapons and rushing towards Longcheng. Longcheng's expression was serious. Without any hesitation, he directly transformed into a human beast type. Whoosh. The next moment, Longcheng's figure flickered, he cast a shave, and instantly moved to a jailer beast. 100,000 tile Zhengchen times 10. At the same time as the punch was passed, the 9 tails behind him instantly cast straight punches one after another, stacking up one by one, and the last 9 tails and 9 straight punches concentrated on the fist at the front. This is equivalent to concentrating the power of 10 fists together, which can also be called million-tile fists. Boom! One punch hits the chest of the rhino jailer beast, and with a muffled sound, it directly slams it out. These 4 jailer beasts are not monsters, but those with animal-type devil fruit abilities. As far as Longcheng knows, their fruit abilities have been awakened. Once the animal-type devil fruit is awakened, not only its strength is greatly increased, but it also has an exceptionally tenacious resilience. No matter how badly injured, as long as you lie down and rest for a while, you will be able to recover as before, which is almost like an immortal body. Therefore, to deal with them, you must come up with all your strength and make a quick decision. Phailu reminds you, 3 things to read. 154. Magellan shows up and loses both. Chance. As soon as he came up, the firepower was full, and in a blink of an eye, 3 jailer beasts were defeated, and in the end, only 1 zebra jailer beast was left, and little Sadie was still standing. But with the 2 of them alone, there will inevitably be gaps in defense. Longcheng shaved again, swayed his figure, and went straight to the entrance. After all, Longcheng's purpose was to save Jinping on the 6th floor, not find someone to fight. As long as he enters the 5th floor of the extremely cold hell, without the surveillance of the phone bug, he will be temporarily safe. Not good. Seeing through Longcheng's intentions, little Sati couldn't help but change his face. But unfortunately, she was too late to stop it. While angry and negligent, he was surprised at the strength of Longcheng. Under the siege of 5 of them, not only were they unscathed, they also defeated 3 jailer beasts, and the reward of 100 million was probably too low. Go. Longcheng didn't think so much. The entrance, already in front of him, he couldn't help but jump over with joy in his heart. Poison Dragon. And at this moment, a soft drink suddenly sounded. Hula. At the same time, I saw 3 giant dragons composed of dark purple colloidal liquid, rushing towards the dragon city. Not good. Longcheng's face changed greatly in an instant, and he didn't care about the entrance. He quickly responded. 100,000 Wajang Fist Cannonball 9 Chaos. The 9 tails, like 9 arms, blasted forward together. Puffy. With a muffled sound, the huge dragon was instantly scattered by the air cannon. Papa. But the range of the poisonous dragon is too large, and after being dispersed, a few drops of the venom still splashed onto Longcheng. Whoosh! Longcheng frowned, then shaved, and quickly backed away to dodge. What a foolish boy! At this time, I saw a tall man decorated with 2 horns and a pair of wings, walking towards Longcheng with a gloomy face. It was Magellan, the warden of the advancing city. Longcheng looked at Magellan and glanced at the wounded body on his body. Where the venom splashed, he couldn't help frowning. Magellan is the poisonous man of the poisonous fruit person, and his whole body, including the breath he exhales, is highly poisonous. The poison dragon move just now was one of his powerful moves. In addition to a large range, the poison contained in it was also extremely strong. Although it only touched a little, the toxin quickly entered the body, and Longcheng had already produced various poisoning reactions such as nausea, tingling, and paralysis. Bang, bang, bang. At the same time, the heart began to beat violently, constantly sending out vigorous vitality, supporting Longcheng not to fall down immediately. No. Although there is an inexhaustible heart as a backing, it is impossible after all. It can only slow down the poisoning time. Longcheng's face became more and more serious. He had to leave quickly, otherwise he would be dead. But facing Magellan who could destroy the black beard, I am afraid he wouldn't get out so easily. Poison Cloud. Just when Longcheng was thinking about it, Magellan didn't talk nonsense at all, and he attacked again. I saw countless poisonous gas released from his body, like a large cloud of mist, sweeping all around in an instant. The previous little Sati and the jailer beast immediately hid away when they saw Magellan appear. They know very well that on the battlefield of the Warden, there is no distinction between the enemy and the enemy. Not good. The face of such a large-scale attack, Longcheng's expression changed, and he hurriedly used the moon step to dodge. This is. But the next moment, Longcheng suddenly saw that the passage behind was blocked by a poison wall. Advance to the 4th floor of the city, there is a huge blood pool in the middle, and there is only a circle of passages around. Damn. Looking ahead, the poisonous gas is rapidly sweeping in, and Longcheng has been attacked from front and back. Whoosh. Since there is no way to go back, we can only fight. Longcheng's figure flashed, but he went straight to meet him, passed through the poisonous cloud, and appeared in front of Magellan. Magellan was obviously taken aback when he saw the dragon city that suddenly rushed up, and at the same time, he suddenly felt a sense of danger. Almost completely out of instinct, it instantly produced a large amount of venom, wrapping the whole body like a layer of armor. 100,000 tile Zhengchen times 10. Facing Magellan, who was covered in venom, Longcheng didn't hesitate at all, but punched him. Boom. The 10 straight punches are superimposed, and the effect is comparable to a million watts straight punch, which hits Magellan's chest. With a loud bang, the venom splattered everywhere, and at the same time, Magellan was directly beaten and flew out. The Warden. Seeing this scene, little Sati was worried and couldn't help but let out an exclamation. But there is poison and gas everywhere. With her body, as long as she has just entered the battlefield, she is afraid that she will be poisoned, so she does not dare to approach. At the same time, I can't help but wonder, Longcheng is obviously poisoned, why is it still okay until now? It's too bad, I can't stand it anymore. Looking at the large amount of venom on his fist, Longcheng frowned more deeply, and at the same time his body swayed, almost falling down. First, it was splashed by Magellan's poisonous dragon, and then absorbed a large amount of poisonous gas, and then directly touched Magellan's venom. Even if Longcheng has an inexhaustible heart and strong vitality, it has reached its limit and will soon be unable to hold on. Go. Longcheng barely stabilized his body, then took a deep breath and jumped into the hole leading to the 5th underground floor. Damn. Seeing the dragon city fleeing to the 5th floor, little Sati was anxious, but the entrance of the hole was almost completely covered with poisonous gas, and she couldn't catch up for a while. Just wanted to connect to the monitoring room and lock the location of Longcheng. But thinking about it again, the 5th floor is an extremely cold hell, phone bugs can't survive, there is no monitoring at all, and I can't help but feel annoyed. Don't worry about him. At this moment, a voice sounded, and Magellan was seen shaking and stood up. From Longcheng just now almost completely shattered his bones and internal organs, but even so, Magellan still saved his life. To be said that people in this world are indeed monsters. He has been poisoned by me, and it is impossible to survive today's sunset without an antidote. As Magellan spoke, he spat out a big mouthful of blood, and said with all his remaining strength. Now, take me to the doctor. Yes. Little Sati had a nervous expression on her face, and while the poisonous gas had dissipated, she hurriedly urged the jailer beast and lifted Magellan to the infirmary. Bang! At this time, the dragon city has entered the 5th underground floor. Due to the intrusion of toxins more and more, it did not stabilize when it landed, and it just fell down. No, I can't stay here. This is near the entrance of the cave, even if there is no surveillance. It is easy to be found by the guards. Longcheng gritted his teeth and stood up and kept moving forward. The entire 5th floor was full of ice and snow. After holding on for more than 2 hours, Longcheng finally fell to the ground and fainted on the ice. 155. Gold Enhancement. Liver. After Longcheng fell, the ice and snow fell on him, and the accumulation became thicker and thicker, and soon, he was completely buried. Cold, poisonous, double damage, constantly eroding Longcheng's body. Boom, 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 but at the same time, the inexhaustible heart beats hard, constantly sending out huge vitality to repair Longcheng's body. One positive and one negative wrestle with each other, and in a flash, it's a few days. At this time, the toxin has spread to Longcheng's body, but only the heart is still full of vitality. The inexhaustible heart can't get rid of toxins, and the toxins can't kill the inexhaustible heart, and the two sides enter a delicate balance. Under this balance, Longcheng has been in a state of suspended animation. Time passed by day, and in a blink of an eye. Nearly 2 months. Cooldown is over. This morning, the system prompt suddenly sounded. Who was in a state of suspended animation, did not respond. According to the current state of the host, the system enters an automatic program. An hour later, the system prompt sounds again. For this enhancement, you can choose Gold Enhancement or Normal Enhancement. Choose Gold Enhancement. This infinite enhancement, target, organs and liver. OK. Enhancement completed. Pong. 2 minutes later, with a muffled sound, thick ice and snow suddenly came from below. It exploded, and then, Longcheng retracted his fist and sat up. Gasping for breath, and after a few minutes, Longcheng took another deep breath, and then he fully recovered. Almost fell. Returning to the Dragon City of God, after reading the system enhancement record, I couldn't help but smile. Unexpectedly, when he lost consciousness, the system can still be transferred to the automatic program, which is indeed an upgraded version of 2.0. In addition, Longcheng can't help but feel fortunate that every 6 times a gold enhancement, this time just can choose a gold enhancement. Liver, one of the 5 internal organs, is the organ with the main metabolic function, and it is also the largest detoxification organ in the human body. Just now, the system was automatically strengthened. In view of the current state of Longcheng, the liver that can detoxify is preferentially selected for strengthening. And I have to say, the effect is remarkable. The toxins that have been eroded for nearly 2 months are all over the body of Longcheng, and they are completely removed in 1 minute. Without the erosion of toxins, the huge vitality of the heart is instantly transported to all parts of Longcheng's body, where he, dead and resurrected. There are other functions. Understanding all of these, after that, I checked it carefully. This time, the liver was strengthened, and the detoxification could be called invulnerable to all poisons. In addition to the function, there were 3 other abilities. 1. Metabolism. The liver is also the largest digestive gland in the human body and is involved in various metabolic activities. After being strengthened at this time, this ability has been greatly increased. There are many intuitive effects. For example, alcohol metabolism is accelerated, and the metabolism of sugar, fat, and protein is accelerated, so that Longcheng eats more and absorbs more, and the body becomes stronger. 22. Secretes bile. Named bile because it is stored in the gallbladder. But in fact, it is secreted by the liver. After this function is improved, Longcheng can instantly secrete hundreds of pounds of bile, and its acidity and alkalinity can be adjusted. In this way, Longcheng can completely secrete bile with strong acid and alkali, and then spit it out as a means of attack. Of course, in order to prevent corrosion of its own organs, the bile secreted by Longcheng will wrap a layer of normal pH on the outside. Third, the production of coagulation factors. In infancy, the liver is the main hematopoietic organ, and as adults, this function is replaced by the bone marrow. However, clotting factors are still produced almost entirely by the liver. Coagulation factor is a substance that coagulates blood. Adhesion with platelets, the holes on the blood vessels can be repaired. The effect of this ability is very simple, that is, no matter how severe the trauma, Longcheng can stop the bleeding instantly, thus preventing death from excessive blood loss. As expected of a system. After reading it, Longcheng couldn't help but excite, and once again praised it. Coupled with the powerful detoxification and ability, this time to strengthen the liver, in fact, 4 powerful abilities have been obtained. Magellan. Immediately afterwards, Longcheng sneered again. After the gold strengthens the liver, Magellan's poisonousness is no longer a threat to Longcheng. As a result, no one can stop him in this great underwater prison known as the Iron Wall. The physique is much stronger. Longcheng stood up from the snow pit, only to feel that his body was full of strength. The humanoid state, the previous Dao strength value was 3,000, but now it has reached 5,000. As the harvest in these 2 months. The reason for this change, Longcheng understood after a little thought. The past 2 months, although he has been lying down, in order to resist the poison and cold, his inexhaustible heart has been beating violently. Although it failed to get rid of toxins, it sent huge vitality to all parts of the body. Under this continuous supply, Longcheng's body is actually strengthening. Roar! Just as Longcheng was thinking about it, a series of low beast roars suddenly sounded around him. Then he looked up and saw a group of snow wolves with red eyes gathered from the front, approaching Longcheng. This is the 5th underground floor of the advanced city, the extremely cold hell, because the temperature is extremely low, even phone bugs cannot survive. But the habits of all things are different, and it is precisely this kind of snow wolf's paradise. As far as Longcheng knows, these wolves are called army wolves, and their ferocity exceeds that of the beasts on the 2nd floor. It is a beast specially bred in the promotion city and used to guard the 5th floor. Before the Dragon City was covered with ice and snow, and there was only one piece of vitality left, it was basically no different from a stone. So these army wolf never found him. Ouch! These army wolves have been hungry for a long time, and with a howl from the leader, they suddenly launched an attack and rushed towards Longcheng together. 10,000 watts boxing super Gatling. Facing the densely packed army of wolves, Longcheng had no fear, stood still, followed by a soft drink, and then suddenly shot. Bang bang bang. The next moment, I saw Longcheng's fists rushed out alternately, instantly punching more than 1,000 punches. Then, with a heavy muffled sound, hundreds of army wolves were instantly knocked out. And under the strength that can break 10,000 watts, these tenacious army wolves are killed instantly. Is this a body with 5,000 Dao strength? Looking at the corpse of the army wolf all over the ground, Longcheng smiled. After the physical strength is enhanced, the developed derivative moves can also exert stronger power. Go. For the time being. The next step is to find the passage and go to the 6th floor. Philo reminds you. 3 things to read. 156. Call General. The 6th floor of the advanced city is an unknown floor, so there is no downward vent. In fact, between the 5th floor and the 6th city, there are 5. The 5th floor is the secret base of the Shemale King Ivankov. After the painful experience of Kamabaka Kingdom before, Dragon City has some stomach discomfort to the Shemale, so I don't want to visit this. The legendary character. From the 5th floor to enter the 6th floor, only through the normal stairs. In this way, it will enter the guards' activity area, and at the same time, it will enter the monitoring area again. In this regard, Longcheng just smiled. Pung! With a loud bang, the door on the 5th floor was instantly smashed, and the guard behind him instantly widened his eyes, his expression a little confused, and he still hadn't figured out what happened. At this moment, I saw a man walk out from the dust. He is. How is it possible? When they saw it clearly, the guards came back to their senses, and they were all horrified. The person who came was Longcheng. Since the establishment of the advanced city, it has never been captured, disguised as a marshal and sneaked in, and then forced all the way to the 4th underground floor. Simply hardcore can't be hardcore. And it's only been less than 2 months since this big event. So for this face, the entire advanced city is still fresh in memory. Catch him now. The Dragon City, which had been judged dead, actually reappeared and broke in. After a while of panic, the guards reacted and rushed up with a roar. 10,000 watts boxing super Gatling. Longcheng's figure flickered, and he directly greeted him. He wanted to break through as hard as the 6th floor. What? At the same time, Magellan, who received the call, widened his eyes in disbelief. He was obviously poisoned, how could he not die? Since that's the case. Thinking of this, Magellan's face suddenly sank. 2 months ago, he was seriously injured by Longcheng, and although the injury has recovered, his memory is still fresh. Since Longcheng is not dead, he will go personally, kill him completely this time, and avenge the previous punch. According to the guard's report, Longcheng's strength is too strong, and he can't stop it at all. 6 floors underground. At this time, it was too late to catch up. Magellan simply took the elevator and went to the 6th floor to intercept. Quick, must not let that kid escape again. Little Sati got the report and hurriedly called the jailer beast, ready to go to capture Longcheng. But at this time they were on the 2nd floor, and the jailer beasts were scattered all over the place, so their movements were a little slower. It's here. Just as the guards were mobilizing and gathering from all over the place, Longcheng had been destroyed all the way, and had already rushed directly to the legendary 6th floor. Compared with the 5 floors above, there was no harsh environment here. Because for those who are imprisoned here, whether it is severe cold or sweltering heat, it has no meaning at all. And as long as they are detained on the 6th floor, they are sentenced to death and life. That is to say, as long as you enter here, you will never want to go out again, so this place is also called Infinite Hell, and Jinping is locked on the 6th floor, and Longcheng can't help speeding up. But just entered the prison van. I saw a man blocking the entrance. It was Magellan. It didn't die. Seeing the intact Magellan, Longcheng couldn't help but sneer. He was hit with a million-tile fist, and now there is nothing at all. People in this world are indeed perverts. You're not dead. At this moment, Magellan spoke, his tone full of surprise. Although he had already received the report, he could not be sure until he saw the living dragon city with his own eyes. But even so, he couldn't hide his surprise. Who was poisoned by him and fell into the 5th floor actually survived after a lapse of 2 months. And it looks rosy and in good condition. This time, you're not so lucky. Immediately afterwards, Magellan's face sank, and it was a loud shout. Judgment of the giant soldier of poison in hell. Hula. A large amount of venom poured out and instantly turned into a skeleton that was as tall as a giant. And unlike Magellan's usual purple poison, this time it was bright red, revealing a more dangerous atmosphere. In fact, this is also true. This is Magellan's strongest move. In addition to large range, the poison is also the strongest. As long as you touch it a little, it will spread to the whole body in an instant, and then die. Boom. After the poisonous giant soldiers formed 2 or 3 steps, they rushed to Longcheng, and then opened their arms and rushed towards him like a hug. Judgment. Looking at this powerful poison, Longcheng sneered at the corner of his mouth. There was no resistance, no dodge, but just stood there. Wow! The next moment, the poisonous giant turned into a large amount of venom, engulfing the dragon city in an instant. Huh! Although I don't understand why Longcheng didn't dodge, as long as he was hit by his poisonous giant, he would definitely die. Magellan's expression was serious, but he was a little proud in his heart. Step. But at this moment, the sound of footsteps suddenly sounded. Although the sound was not loud, it was like a heavy hammer, hitting Magellan hard. I saw that the dragon city, which was covered with venom, did not fall down, or to be more precise, it seemed to be completely unaffected. Step, 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 just step by step, walking towards him. It's impossible. How could he still be alive after being hit by his poisonous giant? Magellan's eyes widened, his face full of disbelief. Poison cloud. Poison gas bomb. Poison channel. ... Immediately afterwards, seeing Longcheng approaching step by step, Magellan suddenly became a little flustered, and then used all the moves in one go. Large amount of poisonous gas and venom instantly filled the entire space. And then, Longcheng's footsteps finally stopped. Did you succeed? Magellan stood there, panting slightly. Whoosh! At this moment, the sound of breaking the air sounded, and a figure suddenly appeared in front of him, it was the Dragon City. And looking at it again, the Dragon City that directly passed through a lot of poisonous gas and venom was still unaffected in the slightest. 100,000 Tile Jungchen times 10. Which has entered the human beast form, punched Magellan again. Boom. The next moment, with a loud bang, Magellan's huge body was blasted out directly. Your poison has no effect on me. Hit the wall heavily, and then slowly slid to the ground, Longcheng said indifferently, and then continued forward. Like last time, the newly healed bones and internal organs became a mess again. Magellan struggled to get up, but opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. A little slowdown, he took out the phone bug from his body, dialed the command center of the advanced city, and said with all his remaining strength. Call the general quickly. 157. Flooded advanced city. Someone came. It's a boy I've never seen before. It's nice to be young. Seeing Longcheng forced in, the prisoners on the 6th floor couldn't help but get excited. Hey, boy, don't you know what this place is? But don't implicate us, haha. Compared to the upper floors, the prisoners here not only did not let Longcheng rescue them, but instead said that they should not be implicated. Those who can be imprisoned here are almost legendary characters. Compared with the above, idiots who want to escape, they know better what this place is, and escape is impossible. Shut up, Daddy. Having a headache from the noise of these people, Longcheng roared angrily. Too lazy to search cell by cell, he shouted directly. Jinpei, where are you? Your Highness. A voice sounded from inside. Immediately afterwards, I saw a face close to the cage, desperately looking this way. It was Xiping. I found it. Longcheng's mouth smiled, and then his figure swayed, and he came directly to the front. Seeing Jinpei being tightly bound, he couldn't help but ask with a smile. You guy, you're not dead yet. Trust your Highness Hongfu. Jinping looked at Longcheng with excitement on his face. Your Highness, you. Let's talk about the sensational words later. Longcheng's mouth smiled, and then he sprayed the strong acid bile on the door lock. Zzz. This special material, the extremely strong cage, can't resist the corrosion of strong acid after all. Click. Immediately after, Longcheng pulled hard and pulled the lock down directly. Hide away. Kick the door and enter the cell, Longcheng reminded, and use the same method to break the lock that bound Jinping. Your Highness. Jinping, who had regained his freedom, suddenly knelt down in front of Longcheng with a face full of guilt and self-blame. As a retainer, not only did I fail to protect His Highness, but instead let His Highness be so vicious and dangerous, how can I serve His Highness in the future? Stop talking nonsense. Longcheng was too lazy to listen to what Jinbei said, so he pulled him up and left. Let's get out of here first. Yes. Longcheng was startled, then nodded. It is useless to say more now, the key is to take Longcheng to escape quickly. But the crux of the problem is that this is the advanced city. And it is the 6th underground floor. How to escape? Jinping frowning, only to reach the ground floor, rush out, and then snatch a warship. It is possible to escape. But how to escape to the ground floor first? The fastest way must be to take the elevator. But it can be expected that the elevator must have been set up in an ambush. In this way, there will only be a layer-by-layer return. But in this way, it means one fierce battle after another. How is this possible? Just imagine how easy it is to fight against the advancing city known as an iron wall with only the two of them, and the most important thing is that, even if they can defeat Magellan and others, how can they resist the admiral who came to support them? Here it is. Just when Jinping frowned and thought, full of despair, Longcheng suddenly stopped. This is... Jinbei couldn't help but startled, and then looked up, his face full of doubts again. There is no road ahead, but a wall. Jinping, the next step is up to you. Longcheng suddenly grinned and said something. He has no idea what to do with him now. Jinbei is more and more confused. 100,000 straight punches. And at this moment, Longcheng has already shown the form of human and beast. Your Highness. Eyes widened instantly. When did Dragon City eat the devil fruit? Multiply 10. Without waiting for him to ask, Longcheng shouted and punched the wall. Bang! The power of the 10 fists superimposed on one point exploded in an instant, and with a loud noise, the entire advancing city couldn't help shaking. Quote. Seeing this scene, Jinping's eyes widened, and while he was horrified by the power of Longcheng, he was also puzzled. What is Longcheng going to do? At this moment, a small sound suddenly came. Looking at the sound, I saw a small crack at the location where Longcheng had just hit. Crack, crack, crack. Then, the cracks got bigger and bigger, like spider web radiation, and they spread all over the wall in a blink of an eye. ZZ. Then, a small stream of water overflowed from the crack. Quote. Could it be? Seeing this scene, Jinping suddenly understood, and then stared at Longcheng with wide eyes in horror. Hey, for a while. Just hold on to me. Longcheng grinned, then took a deep breath with all his strength. Bang! The next moment, with a loud bang, the wall in front of you suddenly collapsed, and then fierce sea water rushed in frantically. This wall is the outermost wall of the advancing city. It is built with extremely hard special materials, and it is tens of meters thick. But under the strength of Longcheng enough to break 1 million tiles, a crack was still hit. Although it is only a crack, you must know that the advancing city is located under the deep sea. With tens of thousands of tons of water pressure, this crack is enough to become an ant colony that collapses the embankment of 1,000 miles. So it is. Jinpei fully understood, and couldn't help but smile, more and more. Marveled at Longcheng's wisdom and boldness. Pop! At the same time, at the moment when the sea water poured in, I firmly grasped Longcheng. Boom! Boom! Like a dam bursting, the entire wall collapsed completely, and the sea surged in, and then quickly rolled to the 6th floor. How can the water be so big? Fuck, it's seawater. How can there be seawater? Lao Su is a capable one. Gumbling. Almost in a blink of an eye, the seawater flooded everywhere, and then the water level rose rapidly. It filled the entire 6th floor, then broke through the portal, the water level continued to rise, and began to fill the 5th floor. In this way, both the guards and the prisoners were instantly engulfed by the sea. Especially those who are capable, lose their strength in the sea, like dead fish sinking to the bottom. Damn. Damn Guangyu Dragon City. This bastard. He did a good job. Stop that hole. Run all the machines at the same time and drain the water. Also, hurry up and salvage the capable ones, and don't let them drown in the sea. Oh my god. The warden is still there. On the 6th floor, he is also a capable person. Wait, the warden is dead. Wouldn't I be the full warden? I'm so mean. Go to the warden. At the same time, sitting in the monitoring room and grasping the whole thing, Hannibal almost went crazy. After changing the funny appearance of the past, he quickly issued a series of correct and timely instructions. I have to say that, as the deputy warden, he does have real materials. And just in the entire advancing city, when the seawater was pouring into a mess, Jinping grabbed the lost dragon city, entered the sea through the gap, and quickly swam to the sea. Phailu reminds you. 3 things to read. 158. Akainu strikes. The propulsion city is located in the windless zone, surrounded by the lair of the Sea Kings, where a large number of Sea Kings hide. But with Jinbei's strength, and as a murloc, he is completely unafraid of ordinary Sea Kings in the sea. Besides, the huge Sea Kings generally don't like this toothpick meat. Wow! With a soft sound, a mass of waves rose from the calm sea. Jinping showed his head, and then lifted the dragon city out of the sea. Pung! After breaking out of the sea, Longcheng regained his strength instantly, and then stepped on it hard and flew directly into the air. His Royal Highness's moon step has been used to such a degree. Seeing the dragon city that was constantly stomping on the air, like a floating dragon city, Jinping was both surprised and happy. Jinping, just withdraw. Having escaped from the advanced city, Longcheng pointed in a direction. Although he doesn't have a boat, he can go out to sea on a moonwalk. As a murloc, Jinbei can also swim directly. Your Highness. Hearing this and understanding what Longcheng meant, Jinping couldn't help but be surprised again. It seems that he just didn't know enough about Dragon City's moon step. But in this way, they don't have to snatch warships and avoid many dangers. Immediately afterwards, one of them was in the air and the other was in the water, and they fled away from the advancing city. Boom, boom, but just after walking for a few nautical miles, with a few loud roars, several shells fell into the sea and exploded around Jinping. This is. The two of them couldn't help being startled, then looked up and saw a large number of warships suddenly appeared in front of them, heading towards this side, and reinforcements from the enemy were coming. Boom, boom. Then, as the distance got closer, more and more shells came, like rain, and it was obvious that the enemy had spotted them. Troublesome. These shells, although it is difficult to really hurt Longcheng and Jinping, but if you want to escape, I am afraid it will not be so easy. Meteor volcano. Just as Longcheng was thinking of a way to escape, suddenly a loud shout came. Immediately afterwards, I saw countless fists shot from a warship, but the huge magma fell to this side like a meteorite. The amount of magma is too much, it is difficult to dodge completely for a while. Furthermore, even in the water, even the murlocs are much less mobile. 100,000 Tashkent super cannon. In this case, Longcheng simply did not dodge or evade, and stood above Jinping's head. When a piece of lava came over, it directly greeted it with a punch. Boom! The air cannon blasted out like a giant's fist, hitting the magma. Then, with a loud noise, under the huge impact, the magma instantly collapsed and scattered. Your Highness. Jinping in the water was worried that if he fell over his shoulders with the current of the sea, he would not be able to resist such an attack. Suddenly seeing this scene, I couldn't help but be surprised again. Then, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The growth of Dragon City has far exceeded his expectations, which is really great. Light Moon Dragon City. At this moment, a loud shout sounded, and a red figure was seen. Under the cover of the falling magma, it had reached the front, that is. A punch to Longcheng. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Longcheng's eyes widened in an instant, and he didn't care about anything else, and hurriedly resisted with his arms crossed. Iron Cross. Bang! Immediately afterwards, a heavy and muffled sound was heard, and the Dragon City in midair was directly knocked out. Your Highness. Seeing this scene, Jinbei's face changed greatly in an instant. Pung! But the next moment, I saw an explosion of air under Longcheng's feet, his figure suddenly stopped, and he regained his footing in midair. Jinping couldn't help but feel relieved. Quote. Iron Wall Cross. Although it can withstand the impact, it cannot block the burning. Look at the arm, it has been scalded by the magma. Fortunately, a large amount of coagulation factors are released, and the wound scabs in a blink of an eye, which is not a big problem. Immediately afterwards, Longcheng looked forward again, and couldn't help but look serious. Who else can release the magma? And through the special sea current of the Navy, you can quickly travel between any 2 points. Longcheng rushed to the 6th floor, and Magellan, who was knocked down again, realized that there was no one who could stop Longcheng in the advancing city, so he immediately asked the naval headquarters for help. Damn boy! Who was in the naval headquarters, rushed over with a roar. Back in the Chambord archipelago, Akainu deeply felt that Dragon City would be a huge threat to the world government and wanted to kill him. But unfortunately, because of Rayleigh's obstruction, he was escaped by Longcheng. Later, although he searched everywhere, he completely lost the whereabouts of Longcheng. Until 2 months ago, I suddenly got news of the advanced city. Longcheng actually pretended to be the marshal, sneaked in, and made a big noise in the advanced city, I couldn't help being surprised again. Akainu was about to come, but then he learned that Longcheng had been killed by Magellan. After all, Longcheng's body has never been found. Although it is speculated that it has been eaten by the army wolves, he still can't feel at ease. I always feel that Longcheng can't be killed so easily. Until today, when I got the news of the riot in Longcheng again, I was outraged and came here in person. Along the way, I kept getting the latest reports from the advanced city. When I learned that the Dragon City broke the wall and used the seawater to pour the advanced city, Akainu was furious again, and at the same time, it became more and more anxious, for fear of being escaped by the Dragon City again. Fortunately, although they hadn't arrived at Pushan City, they met Longcheng and the others who had escaped from prison in advance. It was unfortunate to say that Longcheng and the others did not know the direction, and the escape route they chose was facing the Navy headquarters. Boy, I won't let you escape this time. Looking at Longcheng who took a punch from him, Akainu's face was serious. How long has it been since then? Longcheng's strength has increased so much. Such a terrifying growth rate simply shocked him. At the same time, I can't help but become more and more firm, absolutely can't let Longcheng survive. Really? Longcheng's mouth smiled, looking at Akainu, who was temporarily flying in the air by using the magma jet as the power and alternately using the moon step, and it was also a secret headache. As a capable person, the most fearful thing is the sea. If Akainu can't fly, he is peaceful and can easily escape from the sky and underwater. But now, it doesn't work. Big fire. Just when Longcheng was thinking about it, Akainu roared and shot again without hesitation. I saw that his fist accumulated a huge amount of magma, turned into a huge magma fist, and slammed into Longcheng. Squirt your sister. Longcheng snorted coldly. This time he was well prepared. He didn't bang with Akainu at all, stepped on the air, and directly used the moon step to dodge. Where to run? Seeing this, Akainu roared. A large amount of magma spurted out behind him. The whole person was like a jet plane. The speed was almost no less than that of Longcheng, and he immediately chased after him. Red Dog, catch up with me if you have the ability. 4. Akainu's mobility. Longcheng was another surprise. But don't worry, after all, this is a skill that the system has strengthened. Next, Yubu exerted all his strength, passing straight lines in the air, leaving only countless phantoms. 159. Akainu plunging into the sea. Boy, you can't escape. While chasing, he shot a large amount of magma from his body. At this time, the Akainu, where it was just a jet plane, was simply a fighter. The warships were still bombarded. Akainu is a natural fruit person, and ordinary guns can't hurt him at all, so it can't be said to be a rat-proof weapon. In this way, Longcheng is equivalent to being attacked by Akainu magma and naval artillery. The magma and shells were so densely packed that it was almost like rain. Boom! Longcheng's moon steps are fast, but under such a dense attack, it is difficult to dodge them all. With a loud noise, he was hit by another shell, and the whole person was engulfed by fire. Whoosh! But the next moment, Longcheng's figure flew out of the flames and continued to flee. He actually ate a devil fruit. Looking at Longcheng, who is already in the form of a human and beast, like a white fox, but has 9 tails behind him, Akainu's face became more and more gloomy. According to the information, Longcheng had turned into the appearance of the warring states before, and combined with his human and beast form, it is not difficult to infer that it should be the form of the legendary 9-tailed fox. This kind of fortune is really hard to compare with ordinary people. Moreover, those 9 tails are simply 9 arms, both offensive and defensive, are extremely powerful and flexible. The ability to develop fruit to this level is also very accessible. Fierce nature, powerful encounters, coupled with superb fruit development ability, in Akainu's eyes, the threat level of Longcheng can't help but rise to a higher level. At the same time, he became more determined to kill him. Hasn't Jinbei started yet? I don't know what Akainu thinks, and I don't care at all. Longcheng, who was constantly fleeing, glanced at the warship that was still shelling in the distance, and couldn't help frowning secretly. With the enhanced moon step, if Akainu is alone, Longcheng can still dodge and deal with it. But now there are still more than a dozen warships with firepower, so they are overwhelmed. When it was inevitable, he could only pick up those shells. Although the Iron Wall Cross was used to counteract the impact of the explosion, the burns of the flames in the explosion were unavoidable. Longcheng's hairy tail was almost bald now, and it was covered with burns and scorch marks. Even if the blood clotting factor can stop the bleeding, it still does some damage. If it continued like this, his situation would be in danger. And if you want to solve the current predicament, you can only solve those warships. Shuishinai flows over your shoulders and falls. Just when Longcheng was in a hurry, he suddenly shouted loudly, and saw a wave rise up and roll straight towards a warship. Boom! Under the tremendous force of the waves, the warship shattered and the artillery above it was also smashed. It's finally done. Seeing this scene, Longcheng's heart moved. He was shocked. There is someone underwater. Everyone be careful. After a warship was attacked, the navy above couldn't help but be in chaos. At the same time, take immediate countermeasures, either dodging or fighting back. Boom! Crash! At this time, Jinping, who was underwater, wanted to reduce the pressure on Longcheng, but he almost ignored it and tried his best to keep setting off huge waves. Under his fierce attack, the phalanx of the warship was completely disrupted. The warship had to temporarily stop the shelling of Longcheng. It seems that these months in prison have not made Jinpei repent. Pirates are still pirates after all. Glancing at the warship behind, Akainu was full of anger, and at the same time more and more anxiously chasing after Longcheng. In his opinion, as long as he can kill Longcheng, even if the entire fleet is destroyed, it is worth it. But the problem now is that without the support of artillery, it is difficult for him to form a fire blockade against Longcheng with his own strength. Although he was not reconciled, Akainu had to admit that, in terms of moon steps alone, Longcheng's accomplishments surpassed all the people he knew. Is there no other way? Never let Longcheng escape, Akainu frowned. Longcheng's speed is too fast, he really can't catch up. Then you can only use a wide area attack. Before that, Akainu had used Meteor Volcano, but it didn't work. If the scope is even more than the Meteor Volcano, then the only way is to use the ability of Fruit Awakening. But once this ability is used, this sea area will become a sea of magma and fire. In this way, the advancing city not far away may not escape catastrophe and be completely destroyed. Not only that, but the naval headquarters and Judicial Island, which are not very far away, may also be affected. In order to kill a dragon city and pay such a high price, even Akainu, who upholds absolute justice, has to think carefully. Boom! Just as Akainu was thinking about it, there was a muffled sound, and I saw that Longcheng couldn't dodge in time, was hit by one of his magma, and then fell to the sea. Are you exhausted? Seeing this scene, Akainu was instantly surprised. Yes, although Longcheng's moon step is strong, it must be extremely stamina. With his physique, how long can he persist to think of this? Akainu didn't hesitate at all, spewing a large amount of lava flames behind him, rushing up at the fastest speed, taking the opportunity to kill Longcheng in one fell swoop. Whoosh! Seeing that the distance is not far away, the dragon city, which is about to fall into the sea, suddenly swayed, and once again performed the moon step, and fled into the air. You can't escape. Akainu snorted coldly, then immediately raised the angle and continued to chase Longcheng. A sneer at the corner of his mouth. From his point of view, Longcheng was obviously already weak and his speed was much slower. This time, he will definitely be able to catch up. Putong! Just when Akainu was excited, there was a sudden muffled sound and huge waves splashed. Then there was powerlessness. This is seawater. Akainu, who was slowly sinking, was still full of surprise. In order to catch up with Longcheng, he clearly raised the angle and flew towards the sky, but why did he plunge into the sea instead? General. At the same time, the warship went to the navy, and suddenly saw a Kainu fall into the sea, and there was no dissatisfaction with a face of panic. Then hurriedly started the warship here, ignoring the enemy, and had to fetch the Akainu quickly. This is. Jinping on the water was also stunned. The Red Dog dignified admiral of the Navy headquarters, why suddenly fainted and plunged into the sea, finally. Taking a look at the Red Dog that sank into the sea, standing in the mid-air Dragon City, a small smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. His illusion has worked. Fei Lu reminds you. 3 things to read. 160. Another humiliation for the Navy. Dog fruit 9-tailed fox form, as in phantom beast species, in addition to the 3-stage transformation of the ordinary animal system, there is also a special ability to charm. Through the fox fragrance, it affects the senses of others and produces various hallucinations. Longcheng calls it illusion. Although this ability is powerful, it is extremely difficult to develop. Even Longcheng can only change his appearance in the eyes of others at first. That is, 1,000 faces. Later, after continuous research and development, and various attempts, this finally came to fruition. That resembles the real one. Longcheng can already affect the sense of direction of others, making it upside down and left and right. Longcheng calls it the sky and the earth. Sure enough, even if it is a general, if there is no precaution, will also be tricked. Looking at the position where the Red Dog fell into the water, Longcheng couldn't help but chuckle. He was hit by magma just now, but it was actually intentional, in order to attract a Kainu to the sea. As for the slowing down, of course, it is also a pretense. With an inexhaustible heart, he can't be exhausted so easily. Akainu was eager to catch up with Longcheng, and as expected, he fell upside down and fell into the sea. What are you looking at? Hurry up and leave. Taking advantage of the Red Dog falling into the sea and the Navy in chaos, Longcheng took several steps one after another, and went directly to the top of Jinping's head, saying hello. Oh. Jinbei was still there. I wondered how Akainu would faint and fell into the sea. At this time, he suddenly heard Longcheng talking, and then he suddenly recovered and fled with Longcheng to the periphery. Although the Navy still has more than a dozen warships, there is no Red Dog sitting in the town, and there is no way to stop Longcheng and Jinping. Besides, they are busy rescuing Akainu now, and they can't care about this. In this way, the two broke through the interception of the naval headquarters and finally escaped. At the same time, the operation of Longcheng to rescue Jinping was officially declared a success. Since the establishment of the advanced city, Longcheng has also become the first person to rescue prisoners from it and get out of it. From today, advance the city railway. The name of the wall is no longer true to its name. There is a boat. After escaping from pursuit, the two were just thinking about where to go when they suddenly saw a ship approaching from the sea. That's. As the distance approached, when he saw the flag above, Jinpei opened his eyes instantly, and then his face was full of joy. It was the pirate flag of the Sun Pirates. Deprived of the title of Chihuahai, Jinpei placed Longcheng and returned to the Sun Pirates lead their subordinates to deal with the navy. But finally, faced with the fleet led by Admiral Aokiji himself, the Sun Pirates fell into desperation. The sea was frozen, the ship could not sail, and the whole army was about to be annihilated. Jinpei resolutely, as the captain, ordered the others to retreat, and he alone blocked the Aokiji. And the final result is, the rest of the Sun Pirates escaped from the sea, and Jinbei was arrested. Suddenly the flag of the Sun Pirates appeared. Could it be a companion who came to save him? Why are you? But then, waiting for Longcheng and Jinping to see the people on the boat. The smile on Jinbei's face disappeared instantly, followed by a frown. Aaron. The serrated nose and sharp teeth are the Megalodon shark man evil dragon. In addition to the evil dragon, there are Murlocs Shauba, cartilaginous Murlocs Kruby, etc. All of them are Dragon Pirates member. It's not me. Do you think that Aladdin, the coward, dares to come to the city to save you. Evil Dragon looked at Jinping and snorted in disdain, followed by another surprise on his face. But I didn't expect you to escape by yourself before we arrived. Only one who escaped from that damn place is the legendary Golden Lion. I didn't escape by myself. Jinbei looked at the dragon city next to him, and couldn't help but feel a little excited. It's His Royal Highness Longcheng, who risked his life to break into the advancing city and rescue me from it. The evil dragon turned to look at Longcheng, and couldn't help but be surprised again. The captain of the Sun Pirates, Tiger, died. The dragon avenged the human beings, but was caught by the then Lieutenant General, Kizaru, and imprisoned in the Push City. He couldn't be more aware of the horror there. Knowing that Longcheng is the consort of Fishman Island, and later I heard that he has accepted Jinbei as a retainer, so the dragon has always been very interested in him. But he never expected that Longcheng would be able to rescue Jinping from the advanced city. Since you have already left the Sun Pirate King and established your own pirate group, why do you still use the banner of the Sun Pirates? At this time, Jinbei spoke again and questioned with a sullen face. Of course, for convenience. The evil dragon snorted softly and said with a sneer. This is the advanced city, and the Navy has to settle accounts, so it will be counted on the head of the Sun Pirates, but of course we can't count on our evil dragon pirates. Huh. Jinbei snorted coldly, knowing that the dragon was just stubborn, and then he couldn't help sighing. Actually, you shouldn't have come, you should know the danger here. It was you who rescued me from this hellish place, I just don't want to owe you anything. Dragon's face also sank, and he didn't want to talk to Jinping anymore, and then ordered to turn around and return to the East China Sea. Damn it, this would be a great disgrace to the Navy. At the same time, the Navy headquarters, who received the report from the Warring States period, was instantly furious. Which is known as an iron wall, was actually punched by a boy from the first floor to the 6th floor, and Jinping was rescued. He even broke the wall directly and poured the seawater into the entire pushing city. Not only caused a large number of casualties, but also some important prisoners took the opportunity to escape. The most hateful thing is that the general of the headquarters personally stopped him. Not only he failed to catch him, but was thrown into the sea. Of course, Akainu plunged into the sea by himself, but outsiders would not think so. After all, the general's brain was not in the water. How can you drill into the sea by yourself? As the Warring States said, this is simply a great disgrace to the Navy. Or more accurately, another great disgrace. After all, before the Chambord Islands, Longcheng killed the Tianlong people in front of the Admiral of the Navy, and it was already known as the humiliation of the Navy. It's this kid again. Sengoku's brows were gloomy, and at the same time, he couldn't help but believe what Akainu said before. If it is not eliminated early, this person is bound to become a huge disaster, no less than the 4 emperors. Marshal. At this time, someone spoke up. Before that, let's think about how to explain it to the outside world. After all, what happened this time was too embarrassing. How else can I explain it? Sengoku became more and more angry, and then closed his eyes helplessly. This matter is so big that it is impossible to cover it up. In other words, the Navy can only bear the humiliation again. Increase wanted bounty. After a long while, Warring States opened his mouth, his face suddenly serious. Light Moon Dragon City, a reward of 300 million berries.